Go live to the channel. So what's up, everybody? I'm Ross. I'm with Mr. Bryan. This is our first interview of the true crime topic. I'm calling this series the Zodiac Files, and hopefully we will be able to do some more investigation on this Zodiac killer case. First and foremost, shout out to zodiackiller.com and Tom Voigt. You definitely want to check out his channel as well. Make sure to subscribe there. That guy drops all the exclusive information on this case, and Gunner and Bryan and the guys from the forum and Tom, they've all been researching this going back to, I believe, like 98. So yeah, if you haven't heard of this case, you're about to find out some awesome stuff, and you're probably going to end up, looking into it. Just like I feel like everybody who gets obsessed with this case starts looking into it, and then it until we get a definitive answer, it kind of never stops. So that's just how these things go. First and foremost, Bryan, you are a Bay Area resident that grew up during the time of the Zodiac era. So we spoke briefly on the phone, and you told me some of your personal connections. So feel free to get into that, wherever you think is the best starting point for your story.
Sure, well, first of all, my wife says I never grew up. I've only gotten older. When I was 10 years old, and my birthday was 1 January 1958. So when I was 10 years old, December, when the first murders happened, and like I said, or I should say, we didn't know it was the Zodiac. We didn't know who the Zodiac killer was at that time because he didn't identify himself.
Right.
When David Jansen and Betty Lou were murdered in a remote area, Lover's Lane per se, we didn't know who it was, but we did know because of the paper, and right. that turnout is literally right about 18 miles from where my elementary school was. So it's not really even that far away from Petaluma where that happened. So, but we were all on Christmas vacation, so we saw the newspapers in the morning and, stuff like that. Right. And then, we didn't hear anything. Nothing was a big deal. We're in the 5th and 6th grade. And then July, we are still on vacation, but when we come back, everybody knows. And right. school, right. Everybody knows now who the Zodiac killer is. Now we don't have the composite yet, but we're just starting the 7th grade. Right. So we're going, okay, we're just 1969, just starting the 7th grade and going to 6th grade, 7th grade. Anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's give a date. That's David Faraday and Betty Lou. That is December 20th, 1968 on Lake Herman Road. So right. You guys come in summer.
That was before my 11th birthday. So that would have put me in the 6th grade.
Got it.
So now when we come into the first murders where he identified himself, and we're going like, we're reading the papers as students and stuff like that, because we got the Argus here, so everybody was getting Press Democrat, the San Francisco Chronicle, very, very popular newspapers in the North Bay area. Petaluma is located right about 60 miles north of San Francisco. And you have Petaluma, then you have Novato, then you have San Rafael, then you have the South or the North Bay area, where it's actually San Rafael is actually kind of famous too. And then you have Mill Valley and Sausalito in San Francisco, and goes into San Francisco over there. So my dad commuted to San Francisco from Petaluma every morning and every night, obviously. So it would take him about 40 minutes to get to work. And he worked in the Metro District. So when we're in the school, when we come back from when we come back from summer vacation, we're now going into the 7th grade, and our math teacher looks like the Zodiac. But to be fair, we're only 12-year-old kids, so we really don't know. We don't know the difference where somebody's saying he's 6'1" and kind of stout. Our 7th grade math teacher was probably described him as the girl who chewed bubble gum on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and she blew up. Well, okay, that's how he was, except he wasn't purple. But his face kind of did look like the Zodiac, and it looked so much. It wasn't just me who called the police and said that. A lot of the students called the police and said, "Hey, he looks like the Zodiac."
Yeah.
So by then we know who the Zodiac is, and we're taking the bus to school. And this is while we were still in the 6th grade. So we were still in the 6th grade when Paul Stein got killed. But anyway, so we're get on the bus the next morning, and we don't know because this happened the very next morning.
Right.
We have no clue what's going on. But the very next Monday morning, we're getting on the bus and going to school. And friends in the neighborhood are going, "Did you hear about the killing last night?" No, I didn't. And the funny thing, my dad worked right down near he worked in the Castro district, not too far away from the Presidio. In fact, my twin brother used to live not too far away from the Presidio after he got out of the Army. And he used the Kaiser Hospital at the Presidio. So it's all that really kind of small area, you know.
That's wild. And you and your brother rode the bus together, correct? So
correct.
You guys were both there.
Yeah. For part of the time, because I went to a different school. Okay, so we looked so much alike. You can't tell us apart. I don't think my mom and dad could tell us apart either. They'd say, Bruce, and they'd see which one moved, and okay, that's Bruce. I'd come in and look my mom straight in the face, and I'd go, "Mom, do you know where Bryan is?" "No, he's probably over at Mike's house." So my mom, and she's still alive. My dad passed a long time ago. But anyway, my mom is still alive. But I remember asking her, what's the difference between me and Bruce? And she said, well, there's not a little bit of difference. You have a birthmark on your hand, and Bruce has a birthmark on his knee. Well, Bruce doesn't have any birthmarks. I have 2 birthmarks. I have one on my hand and one on my knee. So I could be whoever I wanted to be at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when we were in the 6th grade, he was taking the bus to Lakeville by then, and I was going to another school with all of our friends. So they kind of started splitting us up.
Right.
And keeping us indifferent. I think the last time we were in the same school together, there were like 4 elementary schools right around in our neighborhood area. So they were always putting us in one school or the other to keep us apart.
For sure.
So he was going out to Lakeville School, where I said where we were 18 miles, and then I was for the 6th grade going to a different school. And when I got onto the bus to go to the different school, he went all the way out to Lakeville Road. Now, look at Highway 116 and Stage Gulch Road. That's you can't see the school. It was a 2-room school, and it had a garage where all desks and stuff like that. It was right in the middle of a cow farm, so we had cows all around us. It really thankful that we got out early summer.
Right.
Yeah. So he was going out there. And I think the kids riding out to Lakeville were more of a risk of something happening than all of us going to to the other school. I was going to Bernard Eldridge at the time, and I came on the bus, the Lakeville bus I'd already left, and me and Bobby and Mike, we all jumped on the bus to go to our school, and there's the vice principal driving the bus. And we're going like, well, where's Mary? And they're going, okay, here's the rules. And I think we were like the first stop. Here's the rules. If one of the tires goes out, you all lay on the floor. You all get on the floor and you lay on the floor. We had no idea what was going on.
So they just went straight into the rules. They didn't say last night there was.
No.
They just went, this is what we're going to do. They just went straight into it. Yeah.
So none of us, because the paper hadn't arrived yet, none of us knew what was going on by then.
Right.
So
I was just going to say, it was more word of mouth. Like, just for the listeners who know, when there was no Twitter and Snapchat, it wasn't going to be instantaneous news like it is now when it hits, cable and then goes viral on the internet. It was much, it's like a more like, when people heard it, they passed it on type of thing.
Yeah. By the time he made his bomb plan to bomb the bus, we were in junior high school. We didn't take the bus. We walked to school.
Right.
So,
That's good.
We go on the bus, and here's the vice principal doing driving, and we're going, where's Mary? Okay, this is the rules, guys. And there's a police officer in the front and in the back. You don't go out this door, you lay on the bus. And the vice principal, I don't remember his name, just floored it. I do remember the principal's name, Mr. Longacre. So they just floored it. We're gonna keep on going on if we have a flat tire.
So question, did the officer speak, or was it just the vice principal telling you everything, or was it like both of them?
No, now here's another idiosyncrasy. The police officers, if you think about police officers and how they work in shifts. When I was a police officer on Treasure Island, and my badge is up over there. But when I was a police officer on Treasure Island, we worked 3 days. We were off for 4 days. We worked for 4 days, and then we were off for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the police officers and police officers, beyond popular belief, are not that well paid. I think they have the hardest job in the world. They're almost as we're as bad as teachers are paid. We're not paying our teachers, or anyway, I'm not going to get to that.
Yeah, I totally agree on both points.
So if you think about how the teachers and the police officers aren't getting paid, well, the teachers are different because at summertime they get other jobs or they take summer school. The police officers take shifts doing part-time work. One of the most interesting part-time works are driving school buses. So we knew which police officers were school bus drivers, and that's who drove us home, was a police officer that was a part-time school bus driver.
Right.
So no, we didn't. But Mary, we always used to sing the monkey song, Mary, Mary, where are you going? So that's why I still, after I'm 62, so you think 50 something years ago, I still Mary's name. But anyway, so we get to school and we're going, what's going on? Nobody's telling us anything.
Right.
But then, kids, 5th and 6th grade, by then we don't, in the 6th grade, we have short memories.
Right.
So we're on the school bus to go home. And now there's the police officer that was our bus driver in the afternoon. He's driving, and we have just one police officer instead of two because the police officer driving. So
Right.
we're home, and now we know. Now we know what's going on.
Yeah.
But now, beyond this, we didn't know anything about the shooting of Paul Stein
Right.
for 3 days. But
Right.
we knew because then we didn't know when he mailed the letter to shoot the kitties as they. And if you look at my tagline on my avatar on the board, you'll see it says one of the kitties comes up.
Do you want me to shout out your tag so people can look at your posts? If leave that part to you. Or you know what it is? It's USN Gunner, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm USN Gunner. And then my tag.
USN Gunner 1976. Gunner's on the forum and he knows his stuff, so just check out his posts. He posts some of the most informative graphics on there.
And I'm the old crotchety one.
But you're a good resource.
I try not to be so mean to people, and people are going, "Oh, you did that. You said this." Well, okay, you have to take things with a little bit of grain of salt. But it says, USN Gunner. I was one of the kids on the buses in Petaluma, and I'm a part-time sleuth, full-time smartass.
All
so
facts.
so yeah, so getting back to the story, the Zodiac really didn't start getting very scary until we hit till after the 6th grade. Now we got the threat in the 6th grade of shooting the bus tire. We got the blow up. We were in the 7th grade by then. Paul Stein was right as we're in the 7th grade. So 1969.
So, and just to bring people up to speed, if they're not familiar with the case. So basically this Zodiac killer case, as Bryan was said, he kills 2 people at this lover's lane, a boy and a girl who are on their first date together. He, Bryan and the guys have been at this point commuting back and forth to school. And at this point, after he kills Paul Stein, he takes basically a short, 10-minute cab ride or something across town in San Francisco. And he basically shoots him at the end of this dead end area. As Bryan and I were discussing before, they basically put out the wrong APB. They say it was for whatever reason, there's a lot of conspiracy conjecture about this, but they say it's a black man. As anyone who knows from this famous, infamous Zodiac composite sketch, it's like a white guy with a crew cut and glasses. So 2 officers basically questioned someone who's nearby at the park, who Bryan and I and a lot of people think was the Zodiac. And they basically say, "Hey, did you see anything?" And he says, "I saw a guy run that way waving a gun." So they completely leave the would-be suspect and go off and follow. And that's what leads. Then he writes this letter where he says, he's writing letters to the media at this point. He makes threats that, does he draw a bomb on that one? I know he draws a bomb sketch on one of them and says that I might plant a bomb I'll shoot out the tire of a bus. I'll plant a bomb and I'll pick off the kiddies when they come out one by one. He starts to make these ludicrous threats in his letters to the media or the police.
What was Arthur Lee Allen? He was a school teacher.
Yep.
So he would have known the procedure if a bus gets a flat tire.
Right.
That the kids come off the bus.
Right.
But
I think that's a good link.
So, it's a strong link saying, well, he knew something about school buses.
Yeah, the procedure, as you said.
And you got to remember, this is the end of the 60s. This is when they started popularizing school buses. Hey, you got to be bused over here.
Yep.
Now, the Zodiac caught the cab at Mason and Geary, and that's only 3 miles from where Paul Stein was murdered.
Okay, yes, that's very close.
It's still a 20-minute drive, but it's only 3 miles you can walk. Well, I run 3 miles in 30 minutes. So, I mean, not sure running up and down all those hills, but anyway.
But with that situation, as you said, it seems like it's much more of he was looking for like a lone guy that he could like direct to this kind of dead end point. And because, to even take that ride, like you said, like doesn't even make much sense unless you're just looking to like how it looks, after the fact is like you're looking to just corner a victim, basically, you know what I mean? Or he was,
Well, no, I think I like the idea of what Tom brought in. And there's an elementary school at Maple in Washington.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And so I think that is where he wanted to do that. I also I'm 75% believing that Paul Stein knew the Zodiac killer.
Okay. I like that. I don't think I've heard that.
So if you read, you have to read a lot of Tom's stuff, and Tom will say, yeah, I think he was there. Now, if you read the police report, it says the meter was running and had $6.25 on the meter.
Mm-hmm. And
you're going, okay, well, $6.25 doesn't make a lot of sense that would be a charge for going 3 miles.
Right.
So in the police report, it says that they possibly picked up the Zodiac in addition to a fare that was already in the cab.
I would propose, would it only be clocking time while the vehicle's moving, or what if they were sitting and talking? Could that have possibly run up time if the car was on, or would it have to be forward motion? Because I don't know anything about how a 60s cab works. I was born in 85.
I think they had to, if they were doing a waiting time, they had to put the flag down.
Okay.
But now, if you're in a cab, you're actually doing both. You're giving a time frame and a mileage frame. But I think back then it was like a quarter of a mile. A quarter for a quarter of a mile, so at most going 3 miles, how much money are you going to be paying? Not that much.
Should be like a couple bucks max.
Right. So but by the time the yellow cab manager got up there, I don't remember his name, got up there, that was an hour later and the meter was reading 625. So, but the meter was in the on position. So maybe it was only by mileage, but it was 625. So they're going there. So I put up on the board, I said, hey, does anybody know if that, like today, does it do both time and distance?
Right, exactly.
Because, you could push it to it. Okay, we're waiting for you. I'll push it right here. You say, hey, I'm going to be in. A good classic example of that is in the movie Bullet, which is Dave Toschi is patterned, or Steve McQueen's character is patterned after Dave Toschi.
Oh, I did not know that. I have Bullet saved on my watch list, but I did not know that. Wow, I'm definitely going to watch it now.
You'll find all sorts of good stuff on this board.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So you'll go, okay, well, Bullet is looking for the killers, right? And he stops at a taxi, or he stops at a telephone booth. Remember, we didn't have cell phones,
Totally different times.
You had a phone booth almost every freaking corner.
That's what drives me crazy. Is I think I was just looking up earlier today, or when he makes that call, when the Zodiac makes that call in the phone booth, what was that, like a mile from the police station or something? He did it like super close, and they went and checked, but they couldn't find any DNA. Of course, like it's a phone booth, so if like 100 people used it that day, like you're not going to find much. But I'm like, man, that's crazy.
They did recover a print off of one of the phone booths. They've recovered a smeared palm print, I believe.
And they got the bloody print out of Paul Stein's taxi as well, but he was saying that he put false evidence around to confuse them. So it's like,
yeah,
it's so difficult.
You know, I liked the Batman movie. In the Penguin used airplane glue across his fingertips.
Yeah. So you think that's a Zodiac reference?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Batman nerd, so.
Okay. But no, the telephone booth was only a block or two away from the police station.
Yeah, and he did it, I think, like an hour later or something. It was like,
Yeah, as soon as he got there, if you think about, and that goes with Lake Berryessa too.
Right.
Because as soon as he got back from town, now we used to go water skiing up at Lake Berryessa all the time, and you're taking a windy road. And Tom made a video or a disc a long time ago, a DVD disc, and you're taking a long windy road to get to Lake Berryessa from one direction, or you're taking a long windy road to get to Lake Berryessa from the other direction.
Right.
They're both about equal apart. But with Darlene and Michael, they were not too far away from the police department. They were in a park, which is now, I think, part of SeaWorld, or SeaWorld, I think now is part of that parking lot. I'm not sure. It's been a while. But so you go, okay, he drove, but before he called the police department, Nancy Stover, the police already knew that there was a killing. They just happened to be in the area, and they came down and saw Darlene dead and Michael wounded. So and I don't remember the police officer's name. Starts with an S. Anyway, it's all on the site.
Yeah.
The site, you'll do this before you go to the discussion boards. Read all the police reports and all the stories and all the suspects and all that before you go.
Absolutely. The whole Lake Berryessa, I thought, was the best scene in the movie because it was like by far the most intense. I put that in my movie review on the forum. Like the thing is, after the movie is like, I was like, okay, it's definitely ALA. Like, I thought I had it all figured out, just like every other noob that watches that movie. But then once I came to the forum and like looked at all the other evidence of like the contradictory ALA stuff, and then like now I'm thinking if he did like any of them, it only seems like he did those few Bay Area ones, like the Lovers Lane one, maybe Lake Berryessa. But then it kind of seems like maybe it was someone else that like did those other ones. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it's looking to me now, because it's so until I see more evidence that leads me into a defined direction. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's the most. That's the thing with Jack the Ripper. Okay, like you have a bunch of different like suspects of who could have been Jack, but for the most part, they think it was one person doing it all. With this, you have like 4 or 5 good suspects, and that like I don't know if there's any other case even out there that's like that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Ross, if you don't mind me correcting you just a little bit,
sure.
They didn't have any good suspects.
Oh, yeah, well, let me rephrase that. You got like 4 or 5 people that you can place at these similar locations that are all, like that are just. It could be, it just could be. That's, that, yeah, I totally agree that it doesn't seem like they have anything definite, but there were
a few people that thought that Arthur Lee Allen or Lee Allen was the Zodiac.
Yeah.
And before, when I was on the board earlier in the board's life, I was actually called Giant Bryan. So that's also why it's in my tag.
Right.
And then when I was working at nights, I was on the board all the time. And then when I transferred and was working for the University of California at San Diego, I didn't have as much time to surf. I was a computer resource specialist, and so I had to go fix doctors and nurses' computers all the time. Yep. So I didn't have the surfing time that I had when I was working nights. So you go, okay, well, what are we gonna do with the with the Zodiac. And you go, wow, so people put all this stuff on, and then I go off the board. I come back on. Now I'm still following his bulletins and his news. And when they came up with Dick Gajkowski,
yeah.
Oh wow, maybe. But my opinion is the Zodiac is somebody we don't know yet.
See, I'm kind of leaning in that direction as well. The thing about the movie is, like, I get that it's one thing. Have you read Graysmith's book, the yellow cover? I haven't read any of the books.
Oh,
so I want to check it out.
Book in 86. I read that book in 1986. I was flying to Hawaii. My wife had gotten tickets at work for a week in Hawaii. And so I took leave from the Navy. My mom still lived in Petaluma, so I took my son up to Petaluma from San Diego, and then my mom was watching our son, and then we flew to Hawaii. Well, I knew, okay, I'm going to have a freaking long-ass airplane flight going from San Francisco to Hawaii.
Yep.
And that was our layover, by the way. If we would have both flown, we would have both flown from San Diego to Hawaii. And I said, well, I'll fly to Hawaii. In fact, I crossed the bridge. It was the 50th anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh,
when
wow.
I crossed the bridge to go catch the airplane.
Nice.
We get home, or we go downtown, and I go, well, let's go downtown and go to the bookstore. Now, remember, they didn't have really a lot of books, but in like Walgreens or Woolworths and all that stuff anymore. They didn't have all that, but you had Walden Books, or you had different stores. So we go down, and we have to find a place to park because they're filming a movie. And this is called Peggy Sue Got Married. And I'm walking, we're not dressed in 60s type of outfit. I'm in Levi's and a t-shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
So we go to the bookstore, and I see the Zodiac. Well, I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to read this book.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got back to my mom's house, I'm reading that book. I didn't go to sleep that night. I read that book all night long. And then I left it with my mom. I bought 2 books. I left it with my mom, and I got up, or I didn't get up because I was already awake. I went and drove to LAX, or sorry, SFO, San Francisco. And then I got the airplane, we flew, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is really interesting. So, you're reading the book, and I've read the book several times, and I still have it somewhere. I got it.
Yeah, no, he's a big ALA guy, Graysmith.
But so was Dave Toschi. Dave Toschi was a big LAA.
Yeah, no, and some of the other officers as well.
So you go, okay, well, anyway, that's what really got me interested in everything was the book by Graysmith. Right. So you go, oh man. And so now I'm reading the book, and I'm in Petaluma, not too far away from Santa Rosa, where he was working in a hardware store. And I'm going, I want to go to this hardware store. And my wife and my mom talked me out of it. But when I got back to Petaluma to pick up my son from our week vacation in Hawaii, it was interesting enough that my mom read that book, and she said, I had to make sure that the doors were locked and the curtains were closed every night before I went to bed. It scared me.
So it makes you feel.
And so I keep all the books I've ever read. It drives my wife crazy. It fills my rooms up. I can't throw a book away.
I'm the same way.
And so I'm going like, oh man, so I remember I was on a minesweeper at the time, so I didn't have a problem getting on leave and going away for a week. So I come back, we go back to San Diego, and for some reason or we started getting deployed to the Persian Gulf, and I took it with me, and I read it again while I was in the Persian Gulf, sweeping mines during the Iran-Iraq war. Yeah. And I'm going, oh man, this is really, really interesting, So I've read it a few times. And every time I was in the United States reading it, I used to sit in this tower and go check on boats, special warfare boat. Sure. So I have to go check on my boat for, you do 4 hours of watch and then you're off for the rest of the day. So you go check your boat and everything like that. Well, I'm reading it on watch, and you have to be doing it secret because you're not allowed to read on watch.
Right.
But man, I'm walking to my boat and I'm checking corners.
Yeah. Especially given that like these coastal Californian cities are like the exact area.
But I'm not a small guy. In fact, I'm scary to a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm not a small guy. But it still made me hyper vigilant walking through and around there. Yeah. But getting back to Berryessa and that scene, and even though I read that book several times, I can't watch the stabbing. There's 2 movies that I can't watch. I have to fast forward, or I have to walk out for a couple of minutes, so I can't watch it. And that's when he's stabbing both Bryan and Cherie at Lake Berryessa. I can't watch that. Right. It gives me nightmares. And right. I can't watch on Tombstone when Wyatt Earp comes out and his hands are bloody going, they killed my brother. I can't watch that either. That bothers me too.
I haven't seen Tombstone in a while. I got to run that back.
Yeah, Kurt Russell comes out and he's bloody. Yeah. I like both movies. My wife goes, okay, for every Tombstone movie you watch, you have to let me watch a Doris Day movie. Okay. I'm good. Deal. But anyway, so I can't watch that either. I can read it. I can read it okay, but I can't watch it. And so I have a little bit of some of the instances that have happened to me in the Navy. I have a little bit of PTSD that kind of rears its head every once in a while. Right. You can probably tell, I think Bryan's having a little bit of PSD going on in the board today.
When you go on a rampage. I definitely.
All of a sudden my Tommy T or Tom Voigt or his wife deletes my post. And I go, I guess I probably deserve that.
Went a little overboard on that one. Yeah, I definitely do want to get into your Navy career at some point too, just so the viewers can get brought up to speed on that. But I think I slightly threw us off track around the Paul Stein area. So you were describing after the threat came in of the school buses and how they were driving you guys back with the off-duty police officers.
Right. So, that in itself kind of scares kids. You don't know what's going on. I imagine if they told us what was going on during the day when that happened. Now, the next day it didn't happen.
Right.
It only happened that one day.
So you had your original bus driver back the next day?
We had original bus driver back. We had, I believe, another teacher or somebody else on the bus, but we didn't have police officers on the bus. But we all knew that if the bus had a flat tire, by the way, I've never been on a bus that had a flat tire. So, but anyway, so we knew, okay, whoever's driving, if we get a flat tire, we're supposed to get on the floor. But by then we knew what was going on.
Right.
So that's one of the things you tell the sixth graders right away what's going on, because it may help them not be afraid later on.
And also probably react better in the situation, because if you get hit with the shock of that you don't know what to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All of a sudden you're being yelled at to get down.
Right.
Imagine it's kind of not unlike, getting in an airplane and saying, brace, brace, brace. I've been in one of those too.
For sure. It's like, you might like it can be easy to freeze up in that. I'm a grown man. Honestly, I don't know how I would react if I had to do it. Like, you and I have probably, been through some things that I could pull through, but it's like, you could easily see someone freezing up in that situation,
Right.
Like it could happen to anyone, really.
And nowadays I run to the trouble. I don't run away from the trouble. I go,
right.
So I'm going like, oh man. So we had that all going on all through the 6th grade.
Yeah, that's wild.
Until summertime. Now, remember this was coming up in the summer, in the springtime when the bus threat for the bomb came out and everything like that.
Right.
So by then the Zodiac, I think they kind of figured out that the Zodiac wasn't going to shoot a tire.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I was just going to get to. So Bryan and all these people who were kind of growing up and commuting to school during this time, you were dealing with this stuff because it pretty much happened out of nowhere, like after the Paul Stein murder, as soon as that threat letter came in. But then it seemed like, going with the Zodiac's MO, that he was just trying to cause mass hysteria. And, he was kind of getting the reaction that he wanted because the media was kind of feeding his ego. He was writing in these letters and getting these big reactions, and that had never really happened before. I mean, at least not in America. I don't know about other countries, but I really haven't read much about that either. So I mean, this is really like now that it's like 2020, I think it's easy for people to look back that may not know about the Graysmith book or the movie, the Dave Finch film, but this was like the biggest thing going on at the time. I mean, especially you guys were Bay Area natives. I'm from New England originally, Boston area. So I'm from a small town in New Hampshire. So this is like beyond anything I could even conceive of, you know what I mean? Given that SF Bay, I mean, that's the most populated, area of the country now. As you said, a bit less so back then, but nonetheless, I mean, this was, and then the possible Southern California connections, you really, and California being the big state, you got a serious problem here with this person going around and claiming these murders in letters to the media, and for the foreseeable future, it's not really stopping because these murders are popping up randomly. Then he's writing letter and possibly even taking credit for, other things that happened. They can't really necessarily verify, obviously Berryessa, he wrote the note on the car. So there's certain ones that seem to be obvious, but then there's other things that he's basically saying, hey, that was me too. You know what I mean? It really keeps things, unpredictable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So so after a while, we didn't worry about too much because I think they figured out that he was being a typical terrorist. Right. What a lot of people, and I kind of know this because, being in the military for 20 years, what the thing about terrorism is making something newsworthy.
Right.
And what is more newsworthy than threatening kids?
Right.
So even today, where are terrorists going towards? They're going towards families and schools and stuff like that. So, it was a classic terrorist thing. Then when he said, hey, we're going to do a bomb. Well, I think we only had like 2 weeks of school left when that happened.
Right.
And so by then it was all summertime.
They figured try to get through it and then just lock things down for summertime or whatever.
Right. So we didn't really have that much. That a lot of that didn't happen. We didn't care anymore, basically. And then because he was writing the newspapers so often, then they kind of stopped publishing. Then he'd write something and say, I want to see little buttons with the little Zodiac sign.
Yeah. People wear the buttons.
wear the buttons. In fact, I joined Red Edit and I put down a lot of people on the Red Edit site. They're brutal. I thought I was kind of brutal, but these guys are really brutal.
Yeah, I hear there's some decent stuff over there, but I hear that there's just like some outlandish nonsense. At least that's what it says on the Zodiac forum.
So I put my username is I'm not Tom Voigt.
Nice.
So I don't know if Tom, I told Tom, I said anybody can figure out what my name is over there. And I said, because everybody else was saying I'm not Avery. I said, I'm not Tom Voigt.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and I think my tagline growing up Zodiac is what my tagline is.
Nice.
But I went, oh man, that's pretty cool. So, all through junior high school, we're getting things going on. And then we just started school in junior high school, and Bobby comes up to me and he goes, hey, did you hear what happened at the lake? Because the Lake Berryessa is the biggest lake in the area. So it's not Lake Berryessa, it's the lake. Hey, did you hear what happened at the lake? Yeah,
it's not some small secluded spot. Like that's the big kind of vacation or whatever summertime spot that everybody goes to, really,
Right. So I go, no, what? Well, there are 2 people shot. You could hear them shooting all over the place. Well, that was what he heard. But remember, we're 7th graders, so we didn't really know till we got home.
Right.
Now it was funny because my dad worked in San Francisco, and I remember him coming home and saying, Zodiac was on Jim Dunbar this morning. Did you see it? Well, he used to wake us up. He worked in San Francisco. He'd get up at 5 a.m. He'd wake us up to get ready for school.
Right.
At 6 a.m, I'm going yeah, I don't need to be to school till 8, anyway. But anyway, he goes, did you guys see the Zodiac on TV this morning? No, no, we didn't, but we knew who he was.
Right.
And by the way, we didn't have FM back then so much. Our alarm clocks were our AM.
Right.
So yeah, it was all over the radio. When we got home, it was all over the radio.
Right.
About the stabbings in Lake Berryessa. So it was like, wow, well, that's where our whole family used to go water skiing. Everybody in the neighborhood that went water skiing went water skiing there. In fact, I was just up there this summer. I was up in Cloverdale, which is just kind of north of Berryessa, with the kid I grew up with. Well, his mom and dad owned property in Lake Berryessa, near Lake Berryessa. So Lake Berryessa is where we went water. That is where I learned how to water ski.
Sounds like the spot. So since you brought up Berryessa, here's my thing with the Berryessa thing, and that might be one of the most confusing parts of the whole thing, because Arthur Leigh Allen tells friends and family that he was going to go up there to go scuba diving, but when the police sit him down and speak to him, he tells them that yeah, I told them I was going to go there, and I was thinking about going there, but I went further up the coast. They say, can anyone verify your story? He said, I met a couple that was trying to barbecue chicken. I helped him cut the chicken. So friends and family say he came back covered in blood with bloody knives. And I believe at one point, if I'm correct, that the police found the bloody knives. My question about that is would they not be able to confiscate those or test the blood? I understand that maybe forensics were more primitive back then, but would they not be able to determine at least if it was animal or human blood? That's one part that I don't understand about that. Also, if the Zodiac is as smart as we say he is, like you said before, it's a completely unknown suspect that we don't know at all, with the covered fingerprints and the disguises and the ciphers and all this other stuff that made him impossible to find. If ALA is the Zodiac, he's really going to come home covered in blood in front of friends and family when he gets out of his car with bloody knives in his hands. That's the whole thing about the Berryessa thing that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. So remember, he was dressed similar. If you think about the sketch of what Robert Graysmith made at the paper. Now only went by so much of what Bryan and Cecilia said. I think I called her Cherie before. Anyway, Cecilia said what they gave the description. Well, that wasn't a composite sketch. That was Graysmith's interpretation of what the description was. If you look at it, he's wearing a big puffy jacket.
This is with the executioner mask with the bib with the custom-made Zodiac logo.
Right. So he's wearing kind of like a puffy flight jacket. You know, you remember the nylon fluffy jackets? Some of them had the parka with the big furry heads, head hats on, you know, or hoods on. So that was also what the Robbins kids kind of described him as wearing too, was a big parka style of jacket.
Yeah.
So the jacket may have matched.
Right.
Brown pants. He said they were black pants. Bryan said they were black pants, but they kind of still would have been.
What are the boots? Those are the wing walker, wing star?
Wing, yeah, they're called wing walkers. And a lot of people don't know. And this is I'm all over telling people how military shoes are. I wore them for 20 years.
Yeah, for sure.
I still wear in fact, I still have my original when I got out of the Navy, not when I joined the Navy. When I got out of the Navy, I still have my shoes. I got out of the Navy in 1996. Mm-hmm. I still have my dress shoes. And I've had them resold a couple of times, but I still have my dress shoes. And so I'm going like, well, guys, the wing walkers are not just for the Air Force. We have a standard issue in the Navy, the exact same Chukka style boot. You know, well, why would you need the Chukka style boot? Well, number one, we have just as many airplanes as the Air Force does.
Right.
We just have them on big ships. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
That, by the way, was my favorite duty I ever did, was on an aircraft carrier. But the soles and the shoe is the exact same thing. We had them because if you needed to kick them off in a hurry, then you could kick them off with them being tied.
Right.
So the thing, that type of shoe that left the print, it was 4 parallel lines. You know, if you look at a lined piece of paper, the lines went straight across. And I hated those. And I would purposely look at the shoes when I had to go buy a new pair. I would look at the bottom of the shoes because some of them were like two teeth. You know, they're like they're like V's all the way across. You know, mm-hmm. So instead of having straight lines, you had crooked V's all the way across, 4 lines of those. Well, the straight lines, and this is why I think that those boots were pretty new, is the straight lines, they crack right through the middle of the sole. Mm-hmm. Right, even with those lines, they crack. So, you know, they don't use them like us squids do. I mean, us sailors, we're on. If you think about, your whole day is spent on a surface like walking on asphalt.
For sure. Except
a whole lot worse. But you're walking on asphalt, so that wears your soles down pretty fast.
Absolutely.
And so if you think about how the shoes work, and they split right down here, those shoes that he was wearing would have split if they were more than a couple of years old. So I don't think they were that old, or they didn't use them in the military. He used them as something like maybe every once in a while shoes. Now they did show him in the movie The Zodiac. He was wearing the wing walker style of shoe.
Yeah. But
KQ, one of the suspects that Mike Rodinelli has, he was saying, well, yeah, he had boondockers. Well, yeah, he did, but the boondockers in World War II were different than the boondockers in Vietnam.
Right.
The Marines called their boots boondockers. The Navy calls their boots boondockers, and the Air Force call their boots wing walkers. And although the Marines don't wear Navy shoes, but when they're on the airplanes working on their equipment, yeah, they wear the Navy style chukka boots too, or they did.
Right. So what we're alluding to, just to bring people up to speed, is there's several theories that the Zodiac, there's a policeman theory, and then there's several military, active military theories due to the fact that he was wearing these military style boots, and then his knowledge of weapons and explosives, along with the code ciphers that he was making, along with several other things. But that for the Southern California theory, the Seaside killings and Oceanside, there's several military bases here in San Diego, as Bryan said earlier. There's Camp Pendleton, and then there's several more. So as well as the Bay Area, there's kind of these constant theories that there seems to be connections of where these killings were. There's often nearby military bases, and then there seems to be some sort of coastal or water connection, such as Lake Berryessa and Santa Barbara. I guess that Gaviota Beach. There's several other, these kind of lovers lanes that he targets are usually these kind of make out point, kind of desolate choke spots that are usually, like a cliff or whatever. And that's one of the repeating patterns in the case, of which that there's several.
So you have a Air Force base not too far away from Gavita, is how you actually say it, Gavita Beach.
Oh, got it.
So you have a lot of, you have Vandenberg Air Force Base not too far away from there. And then you have a couple of, and a little bit further, you have there Riverside. You have, at the time there were 3, now there's only 2 Air Force bases. But Vallejo, you got Air Force, you got Travis Air Force Base, you got Hamilton Air Force Base, you have Vallejo Naval Station, you have Mare Island Naval Station, you have San Francisco Treasure Island, you have Hunters Point Naval Station, you have the Presidio. So you're right. So the chances of the Zodiac having some type of interaction with the military is very high.
Given that you're a veteran, and I look, Camp Pendleton is mostly Marines, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have a theory as to if you think he was Navy or Air Force, or is it given your military background, do you have anything that lends you in any more direction more than the other?
No, I don't. Like I said, I kind of like Geik as a suspect, but he was in the Army. He was in Vietnam. He was a medic.
Yeah, I just mean as far as if you think if the Zodiac was active duty, if you think he would have been more likely to be Navy or Air Force, do you think it makes any difference as far as which branch that he would have served?
I don't think it. I think it would have. It's hard because there's just about as many naval stations around the sites as there are Air Force stations.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning towards.
Well, I'm leaning towards because at the time I'm leaning towards he was not in the military.
Okay.
And there's certain reasons why I have that opinion, and I haven't seen any conclusive proof. The only thing that really showed me anybody was in the military was Paul Stein when the Zodiac cut his shirt or tore his shirt.
Medic style. Was it Geik that was the medic? Yeah.
Geik was the medic. So,
gotcha, yeah.
So if you look at what the victims did, if you were a sailor tying people up, you're probably not gonna. Bryan probably would not have gotten away from this Bryan's knots.
Yeah, I'm gonna say because when he got them both at Berryessa, he had the girl or he had one or the other, right? He had the girl do the guy, and I'm thinking like if you are like a master Navyman knot tire, like why are you gonna leave it up to that one of your victims is gonna do it correctly for you, and leave the possibility for them to escape. You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm looking for my book. I have a book that's about the size of an encyclopedia. It's called Ashley's Books of Knots.
Yeah, that's.
So I mean,
you want Bryan tying you up at Lake Berryessa, you'll never get.
Well, my twin brother went Army. I went Navy, but we used to tie up our brothers and sisters all the time. Hey, you have to babysit today. Yeah, okay, watch this.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm watching TV. I'm going to tie you up, see how fast you can get loose. But anyway, what you do to your younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I have an older brother, so I know.
So it is kind of funny, but yeah, I'm thinking if Dominguez and Linda were Zodiac victims, it's pretty. I mean, a lot of similarities between the Santa Barbara and Lake Berryessa.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Santa Barbara from this, so the wing walkers, here's my thing about it. It's like, and as far as the ammunition and stuff like that, I'll just say quickly, you could pretty much like buy these at the exchanges for the most part, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you're active duty. You could just be a military enthusiast. And if you have money, you could go in there and buy the whole outfit and buy the ammunition. If you would, I don't know what ammunition background checks looked like back then, but I know how they are now. I imagine you could just, if you have your money, you could buy it because Santa Barbara, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the 22 ammunition was linked to for sale at the nearby base. So it was one, again, possible connection.
Well, but it wasn't linked. It was only said they sold this type of ammo.
Yeah, it was available there. Correct.
Now, interesting enough, they didn't have to register guns back then either.
There's that.
In fact, I wrote that up today on one of the topics because somebody had said on a different site that he had a registered 22 rifle. His suspect had a registered 22 rifle. I went, well,
registered.
Nobody registered 22 rifles. They still don't. Well, they do now. I mean, yeah. I just bought a Howa 300 millimeter Winchester, and I had to register. And I mean, I have guns. I've had guns my whole life, and I have to do that. I went to go shoot, and they wanted to charge me $75 for a box of ammo. I went, well, I'm not going to shoot today.
Yeah. Let me just say,
talk to you. You were on your way. I was at that range when I was talking.
Yeah, that was the story. So the best part about this whole thing, guys, is when Bryan and I were planning this interview, we were going back and forth to the range, just barely missing each other. So I don't know what that says about Zodiac researchers, but I thought it would have been hilarious if we were there, like, hey, so when do you want to do that interview? Hey, is that you? That would have been funny. But
that would have been glorious. That would have been
great. That would have been a great story for the forum. But just briefly, I'm just going to say I'm from New Hampshire originally, the state of New Hampshire. There is no license to carry there whatsoever. You literally use your license to go. They do a phone call background check. But I've also lived in Massachusetts where you do have to get registered for a license to carry. Now I'm out here in San Diego area with Bryan. But where was I going with that?
Registering.
Yes, that part, and what we were saying about as far as the ammunition to those various links, and just kind of buying those military products. But is it correct that Arthur Leigh Allen, was he dishonorably discharged or something? Didn't he attempt to have a Navy career? And then
I looked up before they closed before they closed the site down, Tom had some information that he had been in the Navy, but I remember looking things up and I could never really find anything positive that he had any awards in the Navy.
Right.
And if he went to school and became a school teacher, I don't know when he would have been in the Navy.
Yeah. No,
I couldn't find anything in the. You used to be able to look up anybody in the Navy to see what their awards were.
Right.
And because I'm also sometimes involved with Stolen Valor, I used to have access where I could go punch in my name and say, oh, hey, I got awarded a medal. In fact, I did. I got awarded a medal, or not a medal, it was combat action ribbon, and I didn't even know about it. So I sent to the Bureau. I have been retired for 10 years and said, 2006, I didn't get this medal. It was awarded after I got out of the Navy. So they sent it to me and they adjusted my record. So, I don't have it in my shadow box. I got a shadow box over here. Let's see if I can.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, way up here in the glass case is my shadow box, but
nice. Good stuff.
That's my running medals.
Yeah, so from the research, I've been preparing for this interview clearly these past couple of days, and the research I saw when ALA had the molestation case and he got fired or whatever and had to move home with mom and dad, apparently they said, like, I think it was his father or his stepfather was like a successful Navy man, and they, from what I was reading, that would have contributed to his depression because they didn't get along. So they were saying that he was drinking more at that time and he was living with the successful Navy guy that he felt like inferior to, and they were saying all that was increasing to the pressure of driving him more out of control. That
could also explain where he got, if he was the Zodiac in Lake Berryessa, could determine where he got those boondockers.
Right. That's and then other gear as well. You know what I mean? Which was,
a lot of people don't remember this. Sandy Betts, who's also been really tied close to the Zodiac. In fact, she's been terrorized by a person acting as the Zodiac or the Zodiac. She remembers when I said this too, and I said, hey guys, you could buy anything at a surplus store.
See, that's what I was getting at too when people were bringing up like the wing walkers and the ammunition. It's like, okay, it's like I can kind of see it because there's so many bases around the areas we're discussing, as you said. But then I'm saying at the same time, if you're a guy with money and we don't really, you're like you said, there's probably not much background checks going on in late 60s, early 70s. You can pretty much walk in, or how does it work? Do you need to know someone that can get you on base that has like the pass, so you could pretty much walk in with legal tender?
No, you'd have to go on base with the pass or with somebody. But surplus stores are completely open to everybody,
to the public. Yeah.
My brother and I were Sea Scouts, which is Sea Explorers, which is one step they are part of the Boy Scouts, but they're one step above the regular Boy Scouts, called Sea Explorers. And we were in the Sea Explorers. Well, guess where we went to get our uniforms for the Sea Explorers? We went to the surplus store.
Yeah.
Uniforms, all of our shoes, everything we needed.
Talking with you, like I'm almost like becoming more convinced now that it could have just been some military enthusiast, like gun enthusiast guy, because what would be more of a cover is using those boots, using all this stuff and this military look. And then it's like everyone thinks it's a serviceman. And then if Zodiac is the genius that we're crediting him as being, that right off the bat throws everybody on the sale, like on the whatever, on the, trace to it being supposedly an active duty serviceman. And like you said, this unknown guy, once again, now they're not even looking at some guy that's just purchasing military boots and, ammunition that matches the scene,
Right. Well, and if you think about it, like I said, if those shoes had been being worn for any length of time right along the sole, they would have a split right along the sole.
Right. And the hard surfaces, like you said, the deck.
Right. So if he would borrow his dad's shoes or his stepdad's shoes or whatever, somehow or another they would have. You have to go look at the picture of the print and see how clean that print was.
Yeah, it's crisp. Yeah, it's almost like he got him for the occasion, like.
Yeah, and you can see there's not a lot of wear on the soles.
Right, and we're talking about what, a supposedly almost 6 foot, 200 plus guy. So it's like just like you said, a little bit of walking would have had somewhere, like.
Right. So, so now when I got out of the Navy, I lost all my uniforms in a house fire, so I don't have any real uniforms. I still have one pair of trousers, and because I kept them from when I was with the Special Boat Unit, so I still have one pair of trousers I wear, and I have a pair of steel-toed boots because I also volunteer and go on the Midway. So when you want to go on the Midway, let me know. I'll take you on for free.
Oh, definitely.
So after the year, so you don't waste any free stuff because everything got locked down now. But
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so I do have boots that I wear on the Midway, but they don't sell the Boondockers anymore because they don't wear them in the Air Force either. But I still have a pair of I do have a pair of boots that are Navy issued that I bought at the Naval Station at Imperial Beach. I went in and said, "Oh, I need a pair of boots you can only wear like I said, you'd have to look at the deck. Well, the deck on the Midway is different because it's all worn down. But when we go on the deck, I'll show you that it's like taking a piece of sandpaper and just one swipe and your hand is completely raw. And so like if you're on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, and I had to be every once in a while, you're not allowed to go up to the flight deck underway without gloves. You have to have your gloves. And if you're not using your gloves, you have to have your gloves on your body. Mm-hmm. And I got caught one time without my gloves. But anyway, so the reason why is if you get hit by a jet blast, you're doing miles per hour across that deck.
Yeah, you got to be able to slide and stop yourself.
Yeah, and I was working on a high security lock, and one of the keys got broken inside, so I was the key guy. The chief always sent me up to do this, and he goes, "There you go." It was him or I, and he went, "Go up there and grab the key or fix that key." So I was up there, and it was interesting because we were getting ready to do air ops. So I was expecting to be out of there by then. And the air gunner came up and he goes, "You ever been on the flight deck during ops?" And I went, "No, sir. I've been up on Vulture's Row where I could watch during the day." And the first thing you do when you get stationed on an aircraft carrier is go up to Vulture's Row and watch them land airplanes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And launch. It's pretty dang cool.
I believe
so I was, okay, come with me. And F-14 was turning to get ready to go to the cats. And literally, I'll have to stand up. If you think about, see, I'm probably too tall to do it. But I was so far standing up, I was leaning so far back, like so, and the blast was moving us back forward even.
I believe it.
From the blast.
Yeah.
It was pouring down rain. I was getting rained on from the front, and I was completely dry on the back.
That's crazy.
It is. That was my last major cruise on an aircraft carrier. So, but that was pretty cool. That was one of my favorite duty stations. That was the USS Ranger. But
yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, back to the shoes. your shoes wear out real fast, and that's why I said even with my dress shoes, I've had them resoled because it costs $20 to get them resoled, or it costs $50-$60 to get a new pair. Right. What are you going to do? You're going to get them resoled. So I used to take them down and get actually pretty fancy rubber cushioned on my dress shoes that were still military spec. But then the inside, they say Bates. I took a picture of them and put that on there saying, guys, you cannot tell what service they were in, because here's the sole of my shoe that's in the military. This is military sole.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I like the boots, but I was, as you were saying, I was looking for more parallels that I could relate to, more ammunition, and then maybe more things. And like, I sent you that one article. We were both like, yeah, this doesn't look like this guy is it. Do you have?
Yeah. But yes, I could. In fact, 2 years ago, we were camping in Marysville, or outside of Marysville at Beale Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. And Beale Air Force Base, I went into the exchange there. They had an M14 or M1A rifle, which is a 308 or 308 caliber, 30 caliber. And they had one for sale, and they were doing the ban in California on buying assault weapons, and that's considered an assault weapon, even though it weighs 50 pounds, not really 50, but you can go right up and buy the ammo. You can go, so everything you need. If I went to Oceanside and was looking around for, I had a couple hours to kill before I had to go to a meeting in Oceanside. So I went, I'm going to go to the exchange and look around, and they still sold guns and ammunition. I don't know what the legalities of buying a gun on base, and then if you have to take it off, or if they hold it, or what happens. But because the last time I was on a base and I had guns was Treasure Island. Right. And by the way, Treasure Island is right in the middle of San Francisco Bay.
I was just gonna say, it'd be wild to think if you were at one of the bases where, even if it wasn't like a serviceman, if they even went there to resupply, you know what I mean? Yeah. That'd be bonkers.
And then in 1980, 1982, after I got out of the construction battalion, I went to Naval Station Treasure Island, and Treasure Island is right in the middle, right smack between San Francisco and Oakland.
Yep, right between the bay.
Yeah, and that's the coldest summer I've ever spent.
I believe it. We've kind of good.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we've kind of jumped around a little bit. I want to just like speed through so we can get to some other stuff here. Do you have anything else about growing up in the Bay Area during the Zodiac threats? I remember you said you and your brother wanted to go to the beach one time, and something had just happened, and a family member had spoken to you about it.
Oh yeah, when I was talking to you the other day.
Yeah.
Just down from where Domingos, is that his name, and Linda Edwards were killed at Gavita, right down. If you can look up MapQuest or look at Refugio Beach, and it's not spelled the way it sounds. Some people call it Refugio, some call it Refugio, but we were camping at Refugio Beach. That also has a little bit of weird family history with our family. And my dad's mom took us camping there. She had a great big RV thing that we went to, but we'd stay the summer down with my grandmother. And we went, hey, we're going to go on the beach and sleep on the beach. And she goes, no, you can't go on the beach, because not too many years ago, there were just a couple of kids killed up the beach, just not too far away from here. So she wouldn't want to sleep on the beach.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together until after I joined Tom's site, and I went,
right.
But if you think about it, and because we went to Refugio Beach. Now, the cool thing about Refugio Beach, during World War II, a Japanese submarine, and it's depicted in the movie 1941, bombed. They're looking for Hollywood. You know, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite.
I have to revisit that.
Kelso reporting it. He was the John Belushi. Anyway, so this Japanese submarine is going up and down the coast during World War II. My grandfather on my mom's side, he was sitting on that bridge in the National Guard, protecting or guarding that bridge against anything happening to it. So if trains were coming through, nobody could bombard the bridge. So he said he had little booby traps set up to make sound. So somebody was trying to blow up the bridge. And he said every day at dinner, he'd walk halfway to the other bridge where another National Guard is, and they'd eat dinner together. So they'd eat dinner. Well, when the submarine started bombing the oil fields right above those two beaches where those trestles were, my grandfather was sitting on top of that when that happened.
Wow, that's wild.
And like I said, and if you go to, you look at it up, submarine attacks Santa Barbara, they have a plaque of where it used to be. What happened was prior to World War II, there was the Japanese sea captain bringing in an oil tanker. You have to know a little bit about the history of Japan and what caused them to go to war with us. But one of the things was they had to come to someplace else to get their oil. They don't have any oil reserves in Japan. So they come to El Dorado to get their oils. Now, all up and down the coast from Santa Barbara to all the way up and down the coast are oil derricks all over the place. Not so much anymore, but Santa Barbara was famous. When you go swimming in Santa Barbara, and you'd come out and there'd be tar stuck to your feet from the oil fields.
Wow.
When the oil slicks would be gushing out of the oil wells in the ocean. The ocean takes care of that pretty fast, by the way. So anyway, you go, oh, okay. So he was in there getting the oil, and he bumped into a cactus. Now, one of the places in Petaluma, it's called the Adobe Fort, and it's where Vallejo owned his ranchero, and that is, if you look where the Adobe Fort is, where his ranchero is, it's right over the hill to Vallejo. So just a small hill is separating Vallejo from Petaluma. There's no way to there. You have to go Stage Gulch Road to get to Vallejo or Napa or Sears Point. Like Sears Point, because I like to go to the NASCAR race in Infineon. NASCAR. Yeah, NASCAR.
Attaboy. Awesome, man. Do you want to? You've dropped a lot of military knowledge this evening, and we've seen some of your things there. Do you have any other brief breakdown of just what you want to anybody to know about your military career and your military background, your Navy background?
No. Well, yeah, sure. I was a weapons expert. I was called a gunner's mate, and so my specialty was small arms.
Got it.
You can go and get bigger pay raises if you go to like a missile school or to a big gun mount school.
Right.
I stayed working on small arms and magazines. I could go anywhere. I can go to a base and everything. So I never really wanted to go to the big schools to get certified to work on the big guns. I got to work on them anyway. I just didn't have that. So, but I was the magazine and the armor. So a lot of the places where I was stationed Number one place they'd like to send somebody. I'm 6'7", weigh 240 pounds. Where are they going to send me? Shore Patrol, Treasure Island. Where are you going? Base Police.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always into gun shooting. My grandfather taught my brothers, my sister and I, all of his grandkids how to shoot. He was he did time in the Marines. He did 20 years in the military. He did the Marines, the Navy, and the National Guard. And he used to, when he passed, I got all of his guns. Anyhow, so all I did my whole life, I've been around guns and doing guns and studying guns and stuff like that. I've been to a special school that the Army has on how to do special repair on guns. And I've had to study guns just because that's how I am. So I know a lot about the guns. I know a lot about ballistics. And I know a lot about how bullets work. And that's a big thing and it's the little things that, like, people, well, he had a registered 22 caliber rifle.
Yeah.
So, a normal person may not know that, that, oh, wait, you didn't have to register guns back then.
Right. And also, let me just point out that if that were the case, even back then, when they say the big thing about the Zodiac case is the multiple police organizations having discombobulated collaboration, is that if every guy, okay, let's say we're talking about 9mm Luger and 22 long in these couple cases. Well, the obvious thing would you just pull the record of everyone that has a registered 22 long in the Bay Area, and eventually, like, you will have that name on. So it would have been nearly as complicated as it is if that were the case. You would have an easy shortcut. You know what I mean?
Right. And
even now, 30 years.
One of the things about David and Betty Lou is there were guys hunting raccoons there earlier in the day. Sandy would probably have to fill us in a little bit more on that, but there are people with guns in that area seen that day. So they're thinking, oh, maybe this dad and his grandson, or this grandfather and his grandson were out there shooting. They said, well, we were hunting. Maybe one of them were the Zodiac. Well, you don't know, but there were people shooting guns in that area. In fact, if you look at the signs, there's bullet holes in all the signs.
For sure. And briefly, just going into, and again, I just want to say that's why I highlighted Bryan from the forum, was because of his, military background, because there's all these bases in close proximity, and then there's the, these kind of different kind of soldier theories. So it makes it interesting, but, I'm letting you guys know I'm bringing someone up here that knows what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Bryan has a long, extensive career in doing this kind of stuff. When you say small arms, would that just be handguns, or does that encompass handguns and long guns and more?
Small arms count for anything under a 20mm cannon.
Gotcha.
So
that's quite a bit.
So let's see. Yeah, come back this way.
Yeah, we got you.
That is a cannon. It's called the 3-inch 50.
Yep.
Where am I? Oh, I'm the tall guy right there.
There he is.
And then, and it's funny because here I am with the shooter. We're shooting a shot line.
Nice.
At another ship where we could where we refuel, and so what happens is during special evolutions, you always have a boat ready to go. And in that boat, you always have a gunner's mate ready to go.
Absolutely.
And so one of my stations, whenever they had a man overboard, the first thing I had to do, no matter where I was, no matter what ship I was on, I had to run to the armory, grab an M14 rifle, which is a 308, grab that rifle and go to the boat. If there was a helo detail, I had to go to the rifle, climb up into the boat, and I'd have to sit there in the boat till after helo detail. whenever there was a mine exercise, I'd have to go to the front of the ship and shoot at the mines, because I had always qualified really high shooting. So I'm a really, it's kind of dark over there in that corner, but I've had so many awards for shooting and stuff like that. My grandfather, like I said, he was a shooter and he was in the Marine Corps. So he really did a good job of teaching us how to shoot. And I've taken part in Pacific Fleet shooting match, all Navy shooting match. Mm-hmm. I didn't win the rifle, damn it. But if you score higher than anybody else, you get a brand new rifle or anything like that.
For sure.
When I went to shipboard small arms instructor school, I missed being the top gun by, and him and I are still friends, by Pappy Jones. We call him Pappy. His last name's Jones. I missed, he beat me by 3 points. That was one bullet in the bull.
Wow.
One bullet in the bull that I missed. So, and that's at 50 yards. And that's because that was a very new target procedure we had to do. I wasn't used to it, but he was. And that was where we had to train to shoot left-handed also, or offhand shooting. So you have to not only shoot with your right hand, but now you have to pretend that you're wounded with your right and you have to shoot with your left. So you have to switch around. So that was my first round, was probably the bad round. And because I wasn't used to that procedure, I'm going, damn, but he won the Top Gun. So yeah, I've been highly trained for 20 years. I was highly trained person in the Navy. When we were in the Persian Gulf sweeping mines, I was the one that was going up. There's a picture of me somewhere standing up on the bow with an M14, because we're coming into a minefield. So I was up there. Pretty soon we learned that they didn't want us to shoot the mines because we did, and we didn't sink the mine. It went to negative buoyancy and it was still floating around the last time I heard.
Wow. That's crazy.
No, don't shoot the mines anymore, because you puncture the cases, they sink. They're not going to blow up.
Right.
They're still a danger to navigation. So
yeah, absolutely.
We were out there we were on the steam and the enhance. And that's where I got my combat action award, was on this USS Esteem. It was a minesweeper. And
that's amazing.
So they're going, no, just call EOD. EOD will come in. They'll put a shape charge next to it, blow it up, and we go on our way.
Efficiency.
So anyway, anytime that they needed to put me into a spot, they would say, hey, this is your station. And I showed you where that one guy I was standing next to, he had a rifle. Well, on the USS Ranger, every 4 days, we had to go next to another ship to get gas, because the airplanes are flying, the ship is flying. So every 4 days, we're going to get gas for either the ship or the airplanes, or both.
Right.
And the first thing you do is you shoot a 308 rifle round with a rubber bullet in it, and it sends a piece of string. It's called paracord. If you look up, it's a little bit different than paracord, but it is paracord.
Right.
You shoot paracord across to the other ship, which is about 200 yards away, or 200 feet away. And the bullet is big round bullet, and you got to shoot it over there. And so they always put me in the spot where everybody was missing. And then they'd go, okay, well, we're going to put you on the flight deck, because that's the hardest shot. And everybody misses from there. So, okay, for 2 years, I was up there, and I'm going, one day it's pouring down rain. And I said to my guy who was holding the line for me, and I said, hey, let's go sneak in the captain's ladder. Now, it's called the captain's ladder. Why? Because only the captain is allowed on that ladder. So let's go into that door and just keep the gun from getting rusty and having to clean it more. And let's just stay there. And I hear somebody coming up the stairs, ta, 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 and you can hear them. They're called ladders. And gosh, Ross, I have to take you on the midway so you see this. Definitely. But it's coming up 3 flights of stairs, and you can hear somebody running up the stairs because they're metal stairs. And you go, oh man. And you're going, oh man. When I go, uh-oh, somebody's on the ladder that shouldn't be. And it was the captain. On his ladder. And it was so funny because the captain and the gun boss always had a bet whether or not I was going to miss. The bet was a 6-pack of soda. I had no idea what started the bet or how it started. All I know, one day I was sitting after unwrapping, we called it underway replenishment. We called it unwrap. We were unwrapping. I was sitting in the armory, re-rolling my shot line and cleaning the gun. And the gun boss brings me 3 Pepsis. And the gun boss is equal rank to the captain. But the captain is the captain. So he outranks everybody on board the ship. Right. So Captain Spangler, he brings me 3 sodas. Well, thank you, gun boss. That's really nice. So he goes, well, me and the captain, we have a bet. And every time I win a bet, he buys me a 6-pack of soda. So here's 3. Well, thank you, gun. So
I figured you'd hit the shot.
Every 4 days, I'm getting 3 sodas. So this is near the end, and I'm freezing. We're soaking wet, and we have these great big blow up life jackets on, and I have my arms tucked in, and I have my rifle up underneath my shirt, keeping it dry. And the captain catches me, and he goes, Gunner, we're not going to make it today. And I said, well, I'll bet you the same bet that the gun is with you. And he goes, you're on. So we were coming up to the USS Sacramento, and the wind, there was 40 knots of wind. So think of the ships are going probably not 40 knots, but the relative wind is 40 knots. And
coming. Yeah, it's like the incoming.
We're coming up on the USS Sacramento, and the Sacramento is coming there. Now, shoot to them. Normally, the refueling ship shoots at us. And they blow 3 whistles, we blow 2 whistles, they blow 1 whistle, here it comes. And I've been hit by those rubber bullets, and it doesn't feel good.
I can imagine that.
And so when you hear these whistles, you're ducking and you're getting out of the way. Well, if they miss, you're shooting. So they don't have to reload real quick.
Right.
But on an aircraft carrier, we have things that are allergic to bullets, rubber or otherwise. We have these airplanes up there, and they don't have you shooting at the aircraft carrier.
Right.
We were shooting down, and we're shooting down at a down angle. So literally, the ships are like this, and this is the bow. And we're coming up on there, and we're even. The shot line's over, and the ship's over the loudspeaker, blowing the whistles, and and I shoot. Well, instead of shooting directly, let's see if I can get to my camera. Instead of shooting directly to the ship, I shot this way into the wind, and it went up and came back and hit the ship's bell on the front of the ship. And you could hear it. And I'm going like, even though it was raining and it was loud, you could hear it, and I'm going, well, that's good. Well, it counts as a miss if I hit that bell, if the crew does not hit and goes into the water, it still counts as a miss. Right. So I didn't even lose that. So it was like going there. So I'm going, okay, good. Okay, boats, are we good? We're good. Yeah, go guns, go. So I go down to the armory, and gun boss brings me a 6-pack of soda.
Hell yeah.
He goes, and I said, oh, is that 3 from you and 3 from the captain? He goes, no, it's all from the captain. You know?
That's awesome, man.
I didn't bet against him.
That's what I'm talking about.
Make it. I didn't think you were going to make it, Pat and Gill. I really didn't. I said, okay, gun boss, I understand. He goes, but here's a 6-pack of soda. I said, okay, thanks. And he goes, oh, let me tell you about being on the captain's ladder. Now, you know whose ladder it is, right? Yes, sir. I understand. He goes, captain understands why you were there. And he said, whenever it's cold and it's raining like that, you can be in his vestibule. He knows why you're there.
That's awesome, man.
That was because of good shot.
Yeah. Had you missed, I don't think you would have got that privilege.
So another time I got into trouble, but our gun boss had a very, and I'm very honest anyway, but he had a very strict policy. No matter what, even if you think it's going to hurt you, do not lie to me, because I'll tell you it's going to hurt you worse if I find out you're lying to me.
Right.
So aircraft carrier, the other time you have to do a shot line is when you're pulling into port. Most ships, when they get close enough to the dock where they can throw a heavy line, it's called the heaving line with the monkey's fist. You can throw this heavy line and it lands on the pier and they pick it up and they pull it. Well, on an aircraft carrier, it's too far. You can't do that. There's big old camels. They call them camels in between the pier and the ship. So the 3 lines forward, you have 6 lines altogether. The 3 lines forward, you have one guy shooting out of the forecastle, and the 3 lines back, you have one guy shooting back, and all those lines are attached to one shot line. So they say, okay, hey, give me your shot line. Now I have to crawl up into, and like you'd have to look up what a bullnose on an aircraft carrier looks like, but I have to crawl into this compartment. I have to lean on this angle iron. And Ross, really, whenever you want to go, let me know. I'll take you on.
Oh, for sure. Soon. Definitely soon.
I'm leaning, and I see a car on the pier. I go, boom, and I hit it. Now, the barrel, if you're looking at the barrel's like this. The adapter that holds the gun or holds the bullet is like this. So you're not really even able to use your sight, because the adapter that holds the rubber bullet is blocking your sights. And I hit the Japanese admiral's car.
Oh, man.
And I broke his window.
That's epic.
And I
did theatrical right there.
DMG-1 Pettingill bridge. And I'm going, wow, not even the captain's cabin. This is bridge. Yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Okay. So I'm going up there. And he goes, did you hit that car on purpose? And I went, Captain, you can't aim this. Well, I brought the gun with me because I didn't go all the way down. I brought the gun up with me, and I showed him, and I'm showing him how it works. And now they already know. I mean, he already knows that I'm that good that I could have hit there, but I got it.
You're aiming, yeah.
Admiral in front of me. I got a captain in front of me, and I'm going to lie my ass off. So yeah, I said, no, look, there's no way for me to sight in. You have to be a contortionist. Yeah, I hit the window on purpose. I didn't tell him that. So we're walking away, and the gun boss goes, did you hit the window on purpose? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, okay. Good. I want you to write me a freaking book of why you shouldn't do that again. So I had to write basically an essay of why I shouldn't do that. But he knew I did it.
Girl starting trouble on the.
Oh my gosh! I mean, we were pulling into Australia, and then so now again, these bullets are they hit you, it hurts.
Oh, I totally believe it. Yeah.
So I mean, we're pulling into Sydney, Australia, and I'm shooting, and the bullet is going onto the pier, And the Australian sailors that are receiving it, they're sitting in what they call a weapons carrier. It's a Jeep with the pickup back, basically, where you can see the back of it. And they're sitting out of the way, and the rubber round, and I say I want to say it weighs 2 pounds, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And it bounced and went into the back of the truck where they were sitting. So I say to my alpha gunner, you have a guy that's assisting you. He's very junior. He's not the one that's crawling up. He was pretty stout guy too. So he couldn't have really got into the area where he needed to do that. He would have made a good fantail shooter. But so I'm going like this, and so I'm crawling up, and I get done, and I said, hey, it went into the truck. Go down and get it. And so he goes down, and he comes up, and he goes, guns. I can't find it. See, they called me Guns because I was junior to the Gunners, and the Gunners are normally warrant officers or Mustangs, which were prior enlisted, so they called them Gunner. So they'd call me Guns all the time. Guns, I can't find it. I said, well, look, it went by that truck. Look underneath the truck. So they went back down there, and there was an Aussie sailor, and he's twirling it around. He goes, hey, mate, you looking for this? Yeah, I need that. I'm not allowed to leave the ship until my gunner's mate has that back. Well, I said, so he goes, okay, bring him down. So now I'm in the compartment. I'm all cleaned up. I'm all getting ready in my civilian clothes. And they go, and he calls me from visitors control. He goes, the Australian sailor wants you down here. And I said, I can't come down there. I'm in civilian clothes. They're not going to let me off anyway. I'd have to dress back in my uniform to go down there. So he goes, so he explained it to him, and he comes up with the bird, and he goes, they said, as soon as they call Liberty Call, the guys that were your line handlers want to see you. I said, okay. And they kidnapped me for all weekend. They never let me back onto the ship, man. They just took me, hey, we're going there, we're going here. And I never bought a meal. I never bought a beer. I never bought anything. So, did I hit the Admiral's car? Yes, sir, I did.
Bryan making friends around the world. I'm going to ask you one more shooting question, and then let's get to these SD Zodiac cases. What are your favorite gun or guns to shoot nowadays?
My favorite gun to shoot is the Mark 19 machine gun. It's not a fast gun. It's not an accurate gun, but it's so cool.
Fun. Fun makes up for accuracy and a lot of other things.
It is a grenade launcher machine gun.
Nice.
So if you look up at the M203 or the M203 or the M49 in World War II, it's a grenade. It's a grenade rifle. You put a 40 millimeter grenade in it, and it just shoots, and you can see them go through the air.
Yeah.
So this machine gun, you can see go through the air.
That's awesome.
And you can see them, and if you're just shooting inert or just ball ammo, they make a splash. But if you're shooting frag, they make a big splash. So you're going, oh, this is pretty cool. And so in the Persian Gulf, that's when they said, if you guys run into a mine and you need to sink or you need to shoot it with one of those with the frags, so that way you know it blows up.
That's awesome.
You have to shoot it from. They don't want you within 300 yards of shooting the mine. Because if it does blow up, that you could still get people injured. So then I like the M14 rifle or the M1A, because you're not allowed to have an M14, but the M1A is like an M14. That was the rifle that I used the whole time I was in the military. And I wanted one of those, but when I was looking at it, it was $1,500 at Marysville Beale Air Force Base, which Beale Air Force Base is an interesting thing. That's another Sacramento area Air Force
Yep.
Base, by the way.
Yep.
So, so I'm going, oh man, they want $1,800 for that, and I'm going, and I'm drooling, and my wife's going, no.
I'm still looking at some ARs in that range, and it's like, it's always, do I want it?
I just bought you a motorcycle. You don't need a rifle. So I'm going, oh man. So then my other weapon rifle is an AR-10. Now a lot of people heard of the AR-15, but they haven't heard of the AR-10.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the AR-15 older brother of the AR-15, the AR-10, and it's a 30 caliber 308 round instead of a it's a 7.62 instead of the 5.56.
Yep.
Which is they just say, oh, you just don't like to shoot anything small. you know, oh yeah, it's good for going, the M16 or the AR-15 is going for going can shooting, but if you spend the money. So that's why the my career because it is a 7.62 rifle, and I got it on a website here in San Diego for just a little $600 together.
Nice.
And so I haven't gotten to shoot it yet. I was going to go Wednesday to the tree art range or whatever that range is. You said you knew what it was.
The DGM or which? Oh, P2K, that one, right?
Yeah, P2K. And I just didn't like the way the people were treating me, and I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. Although their box ammo was only $49 instead of $75 at discount, but if I didn't shoot 20 rounds and I had my 45 with me, and then I would have had to put my name on it, and they wouldn't have let me take the rounds. So I would have had to come back and shoot there.
Right. Yeah.
But,
I only went there once, and I just rented the AR-15, and it was a good shoot. But man, AR-15 rentals are like, it had been shot 1,000 times. It was in rough shape, but it was decent though.
So then the pistol, my favorite pistol, I also can afford, and I almost bought one. A friend of mine, brother Freemason, a pawn shop in North Park area, and he had one for sale. It was the Desert Eagle 50 cal.
Oh.
And it was the chrome. It was it just so. But then again, I'm going, oh man, $1,500 for a pistol.
Yeah, I know. Man, I had a tough time throwing down for my 1911, but I think it was like $8.99. But I wanted one so bad that I was like, or maybe it was like $7.99 when I got it on sale. And yeah,
I have my 1911 Alpha 1. In fact, I had it in my car the other day. Oh, it's just tying into what I posted on the board today or yesterday.
Yeah.
I have a Rock Island 1911 one, and that I've taken that. I've taught my wife how to shoot it, so she's kind of like in the shoot now. She said we had a bet, and she goes, "Well, if you lose, you have to take me to the quilting store up in near Poway or Lake Poway, and if I lose, what are you going to get?" And I said, "Oh, you know what? Take me shooting. A box of 50 rounds, and we'll go shoot 50 rounds."
Good deal.
So we went shooting, and she goes, "Oh, well, let's go shooting for too." I said, "Oh, hey, she already bought me my birthday present, which is normally two tickets to the NASCAR race, and in February." And so I'm going, "Oh yeah." So we went shooting, and so that's my guns I own now is the Howa 300 Winchester and the Rock Island 1911. And I just put a brand new trigger on it, so it's got the extended match trigger on it.
Attaboy. Yeah, I was gonna say in the spirit of the Zodiac, give him a pistol, a handgun, but clearly you guys can see Bryan knows this department. I'm a bit of a shooting enthusiast as well. Seems like we're all always looking for an extra trip to the range. That's a good thing to bet on. Let's get into this. Go ahead.
One thing I did right on the board yesterday, and I was talking to Geminius. He's a new guy on the board. He's an Army guy. I don't know if he's still active Army, but he's a hell of a nice guy. But he has different theories on the Paul Stein. So I went, you know what I'm going to do? My wife isn't here. I'm eating hot dogs and peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. But anyway, actually, no. The Mexican grocery store has steaks, New York strips for $3.99 a pound.
There you go.
So I've been eating a lot of red meat because she's not here.
Anyway,
so I went out to the passenger side of my truck. I have a F-150. So it's a little bit different than sitting in a taxi cab, but I started seeing, well, what happens, and I'm moving my screen further away, what happens if I sit in my truck and I'm the Zodiac sitting in the passenger seat, and everybody's saying, well, the Zodiac could have used his left hand. And I went, okay, so here's my left hand, and with the dash right here, and we'll, a little bit almost where my computer is. I'm sitting with if it's in my left hand, I have to bring it up. Well, if the passenger is sitting there, the first thing he's going to do is see my hand coming up towards him.
Right.
Well, like this. Okay, well, what if I do it like this and bring it in? And hit the dash, then I'm bringing it leaning forward towards him, which is neat, right? So he's going to have to be surprised. So no matter how I tried to do it into a marker, bringing it across, my elbow coming down, across, I'm telegraphing my move the whole way.
Right.
So plus I got a 45, so you're thinking, I measured it out together 33 inches. So from my armpit to the end of the pistol is 33 inches. So 33 inches down that far.
For sure.
So 3 inches, and I'm hitting the back of my truck about midway. Right here. Well, where's it? Well, I'm shooting, and time was shot right here. So I'm not leaning forward. I'm bringing it up. I'm in a natural position. Your arm, even with your body, you're in back of his head. Well, they got shot in the front of his head, or in the front of his ear, not the back. So I said it makes more sense. And it was easier because this goes back to those parka style jackets that the Zodiac had at Lake Berryessa, for the puffy, what I call puffy flight jackets.
Right.
And I actually have a leather flight jacket too. They have a holster inside, or a pocket inside your jacket. Why do they have that? Because when you're an aviator and you're in a war, that's where you're carrying your gun. Right? So now if I'm the Zodiac and I'm sitting in the front passenger seat, and by the way, I moved all the way as far to the left where my body was touching the truck window, and I was still hitting it, would have been hitting him in the nose. It would not have been a secret. He would have seen it coming a mile away.
Yeah, I like that.
And I don't know how tall you are, but now let's say
I'm like 6 foot.
Okay, 6 foot. You're going to be right about 6 inches shorter than I am. Well, how far is 6 inches? When your pistol is 3, is giving you, that's how much shorter you are, right? So, okay, well, it makes more sense if I have the gun in my pocket right here. I can pull it out and pull it out. I'm tall. You're tall. I don't know how tall Paul Stein was, but you go like this and you shoot. Well, I have to go. But you go like this, your hand is even. That's even with my face. If it's even with my face, it's even with his face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're going, oh, okay. But now his head might still be there. Now, but I got my left hand. I can always reach up and grab his neck. I can go like this, one move, bang.
Right.
And I can kill him. And the blood evidence in the cab suggests that he was sitting in the front seat because there's no blood in the front seat till where he was laying on the front seat after the Zodiac left.
Yeah, the body slumped.
Right. Because now Geminis, and he's a great guy. And I mean, I've been debating with him all day and he's fantastic. I mean, I love being in debates where you can give your point of view and you're not called an idiot.
Right.
You know,
and then you guys can come up, like the back and forth is what causes you to, you know, kind of build upon the idea.
Right. Now, if I'm sitting in the back behind the driver, I can come up like this. I can come up like this, but that's kind of awkward to shoot like that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm sitting in the back, why wouldn't I just from that direction?
Right.
You know, now if I had shot this like this direction for the audience, you know I'm getting off the camera. So if I bring my hand all the way up to this side of his face, my hand is in an arc, like doing a muscle type of thing, you know, at the beach. I don't have it. But anyway, so I'm kind of like in a weird arch trying to shoot somebody from the back seat if I'm sitting.
Yeah.
But now if I'm sitting behind the passenger, the front passenger, then I could shoot there, but it's still going to be at an angle going through. And the coroner's report said that it was kind of almost straight. I think it was, there was a little bit of an inclination, which would have been normal, or in my reason, to you, it would have been probably a straight across shot because you're almost the same height as I am sitting down.
Right.
But if you're shorter, then it would have probably been a little bit of the decline. If you're taller, then it would have probably been a little bit of an incline.
Sure.
So I wrote this all up and he goes, oh man, just rain on my parade.
Nah, that's some detailed stuff. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get going.
That he sat there and we had a reasonable thing. And then I had posted something else and he goes, hey, I meant to post this earlier, but I had a lunch date. And I'm going, well, that lunch date's more important than this place.
We all keep coming back.
Hey, I mean, yeah. So, there's a lot of things about guns. So I don't know everything. I mean, that's impossible. I got in a discussion about 2 years ago on the board about what it takes to do certain things, and I'm going, well, this is what it is. I've gone through, because my grandfather owned one, a German Luger, and what a German Luger is. My dad had a P-38, which is the Spanish Astro, which is still shoots the 9mm Parabellum. But by the time they're nearing the end of the war, they couldn't afford the nice Luger. They had to buy the Spanish P-38. So that's who started carrying them.
Right.
So I argue with people about doing this. It's saying, okay, well, I don't know everything. It sounds like I do. I mean, and I'm certainly not one to say, well, I don't know. But I did with this. I said, to myself, because my wife isn't here, so I can't talk to her. My cats get bored. Dogs don't listen to me anyway. So, no, I run with my part wolf. She's part wolf. I run with her.
Ah, nice.
And for a 62-year-old today, I did 3 miles in 38 minutes. So not bad, too bad for a 62-year-old.
No, not bad at all.
Almost 63. But, so what I did is I didn't know how to answer Geminius. I didn't know how to answer him. So I said, well, hell, why don't I just grab my 45 and go sit in my truck?
No, I mean, I like how everything you said was a testable theory, and I like how you put it to the test. Let me run one thing by you quick, and we'll get to these ST County cases. Because I got some responses on the post that I did about the Church of Satan, and how I was wondering, basically I had found that article of Anton LaVey's wife or whatever, how she had that theory that it was that merchant mariner who was the merchant marine that was a member of the Church of Satan, because she said he was writing Antoine like these coded letters or whatever, kind of like in the Zodiac style. And then there's this whole thing about, I think you mentioned her earlier, but the waitress that supposedly knew ALA and was possibly being followed by Kane, that all of these, I'm sure you've came across this theory because you've been on there for a long time, that there was this thing about like black magic occult group, because these kind of groups were popping up in the Bay during that time, and that she had, like, I guess, attended one of these parties or witnessed that stuff. Do you have any thoughts on that theory, either related to the Church of Satan or some other occult group?
Yeah, I think there was a fraternity called the Church of Bryan, or I don't know but it's a group of people that have a fraternity, and I'm a member of a fraternity. I'm a member of the Freemasons.
Yep.
And so they were saying, well, is this a group of Pyron and stuff like that? And I said, well, yeah, they probably have a kids group or something like that. But I said, generally, I wouldn't think it was somebody that would have been in the Church of Satan without having some type of left some type of Church of Satan sign.
Oh, that was that's an excellent point, I think. And also another thing, a question I had for the forum that I don't think anybody was able to confirm for me. Anton LaVey supposedly, didn't he meet with Tashi, or he met with someone and supposedly gave them names? One thing I would have a question for the people of YouTube and or the Zodiac Killer forum. Does anybody know what names that Antoine gave to the police? Because there was that whole rant about how I think it was Toshi, or it was other officers that were involved in the case, and they were like, yeah, like the Church of Satan came to us and gave us some names, like they didn't want him, saying like nobody wanted him because nobody wanted to be associated with what he was doing, because it would obviously be negative press to whatever group that one would have been a member of. So I was wondering. Apparently, it obviously didn't go anywhere because they either didn't investigate the guy, or it's another ALA, situation where they meet them and interview them a bunch of times and let them go anyway. So I was just wondering, if anybody had those names of who the Church of Satan gave to the police.
But remember, Tashi and Armstrong thought it was ALA.
Right.
So I don't think, because think about
you think they probably wouldn't have considered other possible suspects if their minds were made up?
I think their minds were, and I think that Grace Smith pretty well covered that in the movie.
Yeah.
Where Tashi was this and this and this, and ALA.
Here's my thing about the movie. I don't know if this was actually. Go ahead. I'll pick it up after your point.
If it was some type of satanic group or some type of offshoot Knights of Priory or whatever it was, there would have been some other type of symbol,
some reference to it in some way, even if it was like the letters or the codes, you'd expected to see it somewhere.
What is the sign? What is the sign inside the Zodiac? It almost looks like, to me, it looks more like a Celtic cross. Yeah. Than it looks like a gun sight, because the gun sight doesn't come up above the scope. You get the scope in it's contained. Well, the Zodiac sign comes up past it, right? So again, I have to remember where the camera is.
Yeah, I'd have to take another look at how he draws it, but I don't suppose that if it's almost like a more of an even line, right? Because if he had put that bottom line lower, it could be an upside down cross. But the way he does it, it looks like it's almost as even as it can be.
Yeah, it looks like it's that. Yeah, you're right, but I'm saying that it looks more like a Celtic cross.
Yeah, I'm Sicilian and Irish, so I've studied
the cross inside of it than it does a rifle scope.
Yeah, I'd say there could be.
And so that's my thing is there any one of these organizations that has a kind of a Celtic cross? Well, what is a Celtic cross? And if you're not a Celt, then you don't know. Now you have German Celts, you have English Celts, you got French Celts, but they're all the same Celts, and they're all from a certain area right around Ireland, Scotland, Germany, right around in that tubular or that one central area. And so if you go into a prominent Scottish or Irish graveyard, you're going to see a Celtic cross. And that's the big round cross with all pieces sticking out the bottom.
There's even a link to as far as like the symbolism history goes, there's this alternate theory that like the Celtic origin may have an Egyptian connection or an Egyptian origin. Of course, you have the Egyptian Ankh, which looks similar, a similar type of cross. So there's some conjecture there that there could be a link between ancient Egypt and ancient Celtic, and of course, the whole ancient Egypt thing. You have tons of occultic symbolism. I mean, you're a Freemason yourself, so I'm sure you're familiar with the ancient Egyptian stuff. But Aleister Crowley and all these other kind of occultic references have a lot of stuff that relates to the Egyptian stuff.
Aleister Crowley he wasn't anything special except for a con man.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. The only really thing I know about him is like he lived in like New Hampshire, and that's the state where I was born. So I know that he has that like that reference of like nobody knows anything about New Hampshire, but other than like Ghislaine Maxwell getting arrested there. But I know Crowley had like a property there in the 1920s or something.
And so and they always say Illuminati. Well, no, that was part of his con and his joke.
Yeah, for sure. I've studied all that stuff for years. Maybe one of these days we'll break it down. Nothing would make me more happier than if the Zodiac case actually someday connected itself to that stuff. But I think the Zodiac has enough going on without even touching any of that stuff.
But, I asked Howard Davis. He's Bruce 3 on the board. I asked Howard Davis a long time ago, when I was Giant Bryan. I asked him about the Freemasons because some of the things he was saying about Herb Kane sounded a lot like a Freemason passage. You need to send him back from whence he came.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, oh man. And I'm going, wow. Well, I know Herb Kane wasn't a Freemason, but now he's being told, send Herb Kane back from whence he came. Well, from whence he came is kind of a sentence that we say in Freemasons.
Right.
So I had talked to, or I had communicated with Howard Davis, Dr. Howard Davis. His website's the Masonic Connection, or Manson Connection.
Is that site still up? Because I tried to look at it recently and the link didn't work. I don't know if maybe it just changed or something.
I don't know, but
I think there's a book with that one as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the Manson Connection? Because I know that's another thing that's commonly, I've heard it's been debunked. So it's a thing that commonly gets brought up.
Well, I go back to what Zodiac said was, I'm a different person than what you saw in the composite when I do my thing.
I have a lot of trouble with that. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't believe that. And the reason why I don't believe that, because that means he's driving up by Patterson or Martinez in his costume, and he just happens to come across Kathleen Johns if she was actually a victim.
Yeah.
Zodiac.
Yeah.
And she identifies him when they're at the Stanislaus County or the Salinas, I forgot which one, Patterson. So they're in South, they're kind of south of Salinas and Patterson, which is kind of a distance away from the bay. It's an hour.
It's like 65 miles.
Yeah. So, which, by the way, some say she was coming from Santa Barbara to Petaluma, where my aunt used to come every once in a while, or we're going to Petaluma to Santa Barbara. And then some say San Bernardino, some say somewhere else, but they all end up in Petaluma, and I'm going, oh.
So since you brought up that case, that gives us a chance to lay out some details. So if I'm not mistaken, she identifies Kane as the driver. Is that correct?
I don't know so much about that.
You're talking about the pregnant woman with her baby that jumps out of the car.
Right.
So
I know that when she got to the Patterson Police Department, they were afraid. They took her to a cafe while they could wait for a ride.
Yeah. So my research,
what she said, she looked at the composite at the police department and said, "That's him."
Yes, right. And then she, I believe it's Lawrence Kane that she identifies as the driver. And this is what is so ridiculous about this. So the two people, the Berryessa kid survives, right? The girl dies. Oh no, he was wearing a mask though, so he didn't see it. But two people identify him without the mask. It's Mago.
Yeah, Michael,
and years later, he points out ALA as it. And then, if I'm not mistaken, she in the South Bay identifies Kane, which is another insane thing about the Zodiac case is you have multiple people identifying different suspects as the Zodiac, which is again, I don't really know. I can't think of any other case. Not to say that I'm an expert at every other case out there, but where you have that happening, it's you have different people being identified. Now, I think Mike was years later after the crime for whatever reason. He said they didn't show it to him. But yeah, that's another problem I have. Is how can that happen? How can multiple people get identified for the same thing? That's mind-boggling. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, let me tell you something about identifying somebody. Now, I've been shot with the rubber bullet.
Yeah.
I'm not a coroner, and I never got a medical degree, or psychiatrist, or that. I did watch a lot of Dexter and Forensic Files.
Yeah, I've seen Dexter. I'm assuming you'll say how disorienting it would be to identify your shooter, after you've been shot.
I get shot in the face, and I'm going to turn around and say, "Oh, hey, I'm going to."
It was him, and worse than that, 20 years later, oh yeah, not to say again, it's the similar thing with the operator who took the call when he called in and made those threats. The whole time she identified Geik's voice, correct? So then that's the other problem you have of these different dudes identifying different people's voices. Then it gets, if you add the faces in with people identifying the voices, then it gets even weirder because you get more people. So it's how can this happen?
If she thinks that the composite and Kane, this goes to what my point is. The Zodiac says that I change my appearance when I'm doing my thing.
Yeah, when I do my thing, yeah.
When I'm collecting my slaves, I change my appearance. Does that mean he's driving around on I-5 or 101 or one of the offbeat freeways, because 101 and I-5 are the only ones that go to Santa Barbara from Petaluma.
Yeah, he totally like hails her over. You know, he gets her to pull over, and that's the other thing. You couldn't really say like, was he driving around looking for a like individual woman to try to do that to, or was he just like going about his night and like you said, if it happened off the cuff, then you wouldn't be like wearing your disguise unless like the Zodiac is such a genius and / psychopath that he's just driving around in his disguise, which would increase the chances that you would like get spotted. You know what I mean? Right. Like that's why when the cars came, he bounced. You know what I mean?
So you have a positive thing. Now, some people say that Kathleen Johns wasn't completely believable.
Right.
A lot of people say, and you'd have to watch the YouTube videos of Michael Mageau and see how he is.
I did see the interview when he was like in the hospital bed.
Oh no, Michael Mageau! You see the videos that he does now, and he's like this the whole time.
Oh, he has a channel.
No, he's on one of Tom. He's on Tom's. If you look at Tom's site on the videos, and you see this is the Zodiac speaking, or any number of one of the YouTube videos where they're interviewing Mike Mageau. Hell, go to YouTube and type in Mike Mageau.
Yeah,
and you'll see him. And I look at it this way. I have some problems that I have developed because of being in the Navy. Thankfully, I didn't get into drugs or alcohol.
Right.
But you got a kid that is still in high school or just out of high school, get shot in the face. And you're going to tell me that he's going to be okay for the rest of his life. I'm going to give him a pass.
By an unsolved case of a serial killer.
That tried to kill him. And I'd be like paranoid every time I walked around the corner, you know?
Right.
And like I said, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'7", weigh 240 pounds. People walk across the street from me, you know? Right. So, and you've been on the taller side. I'm sure you've had people be a little bit afraid of you or intimidated by you too. So you go, so I give Mike Mageau a pass.
Yeah, for sure.
I also go, this poor guy has been highly involved with substance abuse.
Right.
Because he can't sit still. Like I said, if you look him up on YouTube, and he's just sitting there talking like this the whole time. And he's all gray now. Well, not all of us are. Hair. At least it's hair. You know?
I'm coming along.
I say at least it's hair. Everybody complains about their hair, about going gray. I say, well, at least it's higher. You know, but anyway, so I'm going like, man, if you knew what this guy went through, and you're now, and it kind of tells in the movie when he's getting off the airplane and they're telling him, and that police officer, I probably wouldn't really put a lot of faith in his investigation either.
Right.
But I'm going like,
okay. Actually, go ahead. I'll say it after you make your point.
I'm going like, there's no way that Mike Mageau ever knew who shot him. It was dark. And you've been firing a gun. I don't know.
Wasn't that the flashlight too? So the whole thing.
Flashlight. You got.
I guess he walked back, right? So that even
walked back.
Even that.
Back and shot him some more.
Without that's what I'm saying. Without the flashlight. So, what I was gonna say.
Well, let me finish this point.
Yeah, definitely.
But you bring a gun into a car. You shoot. The first thing what happens when you shoot the gun? Everybody in the world hears that. Right. Well, how close are you? You shot a gun the other day. Did you wear hearing protection?
Yeah.
So it's loud. Why do you wear hearing protection? So now, what is on on the end of the AR-15 that you borrowed, what does that have? It's got a flash suppressor, right? The flash suppressor does one thing, and that takes, and it's separated, right? The barrel is sitting here, and it's got little grooves in the very bottom or the very end of the barrel, like this. So the flash comes this way. And the reason why you want the flash to come this way and not straight out is so the enemy they can't lock onto the big long thing. They see the flash come out instead, and that dissipates real fast. But on a 9mm pistol shooting inside that car, you want to bet that that light from that pistol or that flash from the pistol wasn't also blinding him.
Yeah, I totally, especially in the dark.
And the flash from the
I
gun.
totally agree with that.
There's no way he could have identified anybody in that from that.
As
car.
far as the sound, that's what I was thinking about with Paul Stein. The sound of the shot, but then there's the three kids watching from the window above that totally says that he has that composite kind of Geik, kind of face of the sketch with the glasses, the crew cut with the glasses, you know what I mean? And then, like we were saying about ALA, he does not fit the sketch at all. Dude is like somewhat bald. So like you're telling me that ALA like puts on like a wig and then wears those glasses when he does it, but like that's not really going to change the look of your face. That's just going to change your hair and your, you know what I mean? So it might throw some people off from far away, but it's not going to change them from having that round egg-headed ALA face. Like that's what's so weird to me. And the other ALA thing,
I was dating my wife, and we went to a Halloween party as Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. She made my head into Frankenstein in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, see, now that's doable.
And so she took a plastic milk carton, she cut around my ears, she latexed it down. Now it's got a flat top. She put a flat top on top of me, and now I don't have a bald head. I have a square head.
Right.
Okay. Now, if I put a wig over the top of that, yeah, I think if he was actually trying to build a disguise not to be seen, I think, yeah, Arthur Lee Allen could have spent the time to do that. But on the caveat, not a lot of people have that makeup. Not a lot of people can have that skill to do it. And every time he did it, he went out and killed somebody. There would have been something left behind.
Right, for sure.
I agree with you that I don't think it was ALA, just because the work he would have had to do, somebody would have had to help him, and they would have ratted him out. I mean, even people that knew he didn't do it ratted him out.
Exactly. Yeah. There's like the two man team theory and stuff like that. And then I guess.
By the way, I raise chickens in my backyard, and every time I get a rooster, I prepare him for dinner. And I've prepared in the 4 years we've been doing our own chickens, 3 years. I've prepared 6 roosters for dinner. And you know how bloody my knives were?
Not that bloody. Yeah, see, that I had a problem with the bloody chicken thing too. Yeah, for sure. My problem with the film is we'll go 2 things on ALA, then I want to get to these SD cases. The film, at the very end, they say like, oh, ALA passed away, he got interviewed all these times. They were gonna bring a case to him, blah blah blah. He had a heart attack and passed away, and they supposedly get the warrant and search his trailer. In the movie, this is what I asked you guys on the forum. They find those rifles like at the very end, and that's what made me think like, oh yeah, that's definitely it. But then I'm seeing this other like research that they say the movie is about like 35% accurate, and when they had the warrant for his trailer, they didn't find anything of substance, so they were saying they should have instead searched the 32 Fresno location where he spent the majority of his time. So
and they do the opposite thing. Oh, they didn't search. They searched his apartment first before they searched the trailer. And
so he would have had time to move stuff from both. And
so, yeah, I really like the story. I really do. It got me really back interested in remembering and going through all this stuff. And
right.
Really, and my wife is going, "What's the matter?" I'm going, "Man, you just don't know what I'm going through."
I love the narrative. I mean, the way they tell it, I think, Downey Jr. and Gyllenhaal, tons of Ruffalo, they're all amazing actors. I love the film just as far as accuracy.
And I watch it whenever I see it on TV. I go, oh, and I know, okay, they're coming up when Bryan is standing up in front of the Zodiac. I know, okay, it's time for me to go get a beer.
Yeah, I love the director too, Fincher. Fight Club. He's one of my favorites. So I think if you guys don't know about the Zodiac case, definitely check out the 2007 film Zodiac. It's awesome. Just as far as when you become a Zodiac nerd like the rest of us, then you're gonna have accuracy questions.
Oh yeah, but hey, the other thing about the composite is, if you look it up, composites are only 5%. Only 5% correct. Yeah,
I mean, I could see it. It's just a problem that, like 4 or 5 of those guys have that exact face, like Geik, Kane, even Earl Van Best Jr. Like, I don't even think that guy's theory is even close, but that dude's face is a damn near caricature of the composite. You know what I mean? So, and the other problem with him is, they said the handwriting was a match, but then they said it was the priest where he got married's handwriting. I'm like, did anybody look? It was like, what, a priest from Nevada or something? Like, did anybody look into that guy? Like, that's where this case takes you. It's just like whatever random alley you get dumped in. So let's talk about Johnny Ray and Joyce Swindle, the Ocean Beach Boardwalk, San Diego. This I really like this theory of. Yeah, okay. Well, what we'll say is we'll end on the Bay note is when he sends his final letter. What's that, 74? He says what he draws, Zodiac symbol, and says me, 37, SFPD, 0. So he's basically insinuating that he has killed 37 people. Officially, the police credit him with 7. Is that correct? Or?
Let's see. There's CJB. David, Betty Lou, Darlene,
Paul Stein,
4,
Domingos, and if you want to count it, yeah.
If you want to count, I'm on the fence on Domingo and Linda, and I'm also on the fence about CJB. I'm not saying no.
Yeah.
I know that my uncle was on the police force in Santa Barbara when that happened. Unfortunately, he passed before I got interested and knew about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it was the sheriff department, and we had a sheriff that knew my uncle too. So it was great, So I'm not completely sure that it was the classmate. Their classmate is very compelling,
right?
And he has a lot of evidence, but there's and for his sake, I would like it to be for it to be closure for these people, but I really can't. I can't place him there. I can't place him. I can't place him in San Diego. So I think that there's a possibility. Like I said, I don't know who it is. I have guesses like everybody else.
Right.
But my number one guess is we don't know who it is.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards between that and I think if ALA is in there at all, which now there's all this stuff to obviously. So let's talk about the whole licking the stamp thing and the ALA's, I guess, family member offering a DNA sample that doesn't match the partial profile that they have. I think if it even was him, I think he probably only would have did those those central Bay Area ones, where he was around, like Vallejo and Lake Berryessa, the stuff that was near him. Because like I don't really think that the Cherry Joe Bates really fits with him, unless you have all these multiple copycats such as Geik and Kane and Ross Sullivan, all these other people.
Let me say something really quick about Ross Sullivan. He's too tall and too skinny.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Too tall, too skinny, and didn't bathe. And he didn't bathe.
Okay.
He
didn't think it would have been a dead giveaway.
He didn't have good personal hygiene.
Right. And
people that worked with him said that they could stand next to him.
So it would have, if he was at any of those scenes, that detail would have been pretty much dead obvious for the most part. Right. So yeah, let's go. Let's do the seaside killings. Ocean Beach. It's Johnny Ray Swindle and his newlywed wife Joyce Swindle. That is February 5th, 1964. We're gonna go. We now have before the Bay Area. There's this alternate theory that if they think there was any Zodiac activity in SoCal, of course you have Cherry Bates and the Riverside killing, which I believe he did take credit for in the letter, although people again don't know if that's just him taking credit for like random things that happened. But there's a really good article on this. These are questions about if the Zodiac killer was ever in San Diego, which sounds like Bryan has his doubts. There's a really good article in the San Diego Reader. I'll put the link below. It's by Delinda Lombardo. And
I like Delinda too. I like reading her.
Yeah, I think this is an amazing article. This is a really tight-knit breakdown. So as far as what fits into this so-called Zodiac profile, 22 long, near the beach city, near the water, California, near some bases, as Bryan and I discussed earlier. It's also near a holiday. A lot of his stuff was this one I think is near Valentine's Day. A lot of his, and of course he always attacks these couples, these makeout lovers lane makeout points. With this one, they said that Johnny Ray and his wife had a routine of when they would go for a walk on the boardwalk. So they say if he the killer or Zodiac, if either one stalked the victims, that they could have gotten the routine down and caught them when they were kind of at the sniper choke point. At the sniper choke point there. It's right in front of the Silver Spray Apartments, right at the end of Narragansett Ave dead end. As Bryan spoke on earlier, there's a bit of a high-rise point, and they think, well, the theory is, depending on which way that they're shot from, that the assailant fired down on them from the top, and then the theory, at least what is proposed by police or in these articles, is that he runs down from the stairs and he hits him with the coup de grace, which are the two headshots. A 22 caliber weapon, as usual. Zodiac, if this is the Zodiac, usually doesn't he doesn't sexually assault the women or really like rob them, except for like Lake Berryessa, where he said he was an escaped prisoner convict trying to get to Mexico, but it seemed like that was more of just like a story he came up with for whatever to do that. But the Timex watch, do you have any thoughts on the Timex watch with the broken he takes okay, so Swindle, so in this case Swindle's wallet and watch were taken, but in my theory, like maybe he just took the wallet to make it look like a robbery, you know what I mean?
Well, he took Paul Stein's watch and wallet and keys.
Okay, good call. Yeah, that's a good connection there. So Swindle does that, and then there's this thing about
Ross. Let me ask you a question real quick. What was the brand of watch that you first bought?
I'm guessing it was a Timex. That was a big thing for kids, you know.
Yeah, because if you broke it, you didn't get in trouble too much because they weren't that expensive.
Right.
So you got a sailor, and you got a newly married sailor that's just basically making above poverty wages. In fact, a lot of sailors at that time were on food stamps because that he's a third class, or he's a E4 petty officer, third class radioman.
Yep.
He's not making $1,000 a month, if that. Now, granted, this is in the early 60s, and not a lot of people were making that, but he's not making but barely livable wages. And getting married, he gets a pay raise for that. And your biggest pay raise in the Navy is from E3 to E4. So you are getting a little bit, but you're not making all that much money. So yeah, why would it have been wearing a Timex? Because that was the most popular brand in the world.
Absolutely. Now, do you have, because this is related to the article here, a Timex watch with a broken strap discovered 10 feet from Cherry Joe Bates' body, likely wrenched off during the attack. The Timex watch was presumed to be the offender's, although it failed to provide any clues to the killer identity. Do you see any connection there as far as that Timex found by her being the Timex that he would have stolen off of Swindle? You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
No, because
saying Zodiac wore Timexes, even though ALA wore a Zodiac.
Yeah,
the watch thing, you know.
Yeah, I love the Zodiac. I love the Zodiac watch.
Yeah, me too.
I'd love to get one.
Yeah, me too. I'm guessing that brand didn't become very popular after the 60s and 70s.
You know, but and if you think about it, that's when all the age of Aquarius was coming out in the 60s, and zodiacs, and you knew your sign, and you know,
right,
you were Capricorn or evil, like my sister who's an Aquarius. Sorry, people, Aquariuses aren't evil, just my sister is. Anyway, so my first watch was a Timex. My twin brother's first watch was a Timex. I bet we got them the same time. They probably looked about the same time, same also. Your first watch was a Timex. Swindle's first watch was a Timex. His wife, you know, so the killer, 120 miles away. Yeah, that's about, Riverside is about 120 miles.
Yeah.
What are the chances of that being the same watch? I would probably say it would be very slim.
Yeah, that's where I was on it. It's just they threw that in there, and yeah, it sounded like interesting.
Mark Twain was born when Halley's Comet came around, and then he died when Halley's Comet came back around. It's compelling and it sounds interesting, but it's just.
I like that. I like that analogy.
Just a thing.
So what we have on the Swindles is the Swindles are murdered 22 caliber, which coupled with other similarities to the Zodiac, it prompted the then chief of San Diego Police, O.J. Roed, to mail a letter on December 31st, 68 to Thomas E. Joyce, the sheriff in Vallejo. The letter refers to a telephone conversation about the double homicide of Faraday and Jensen on the 20th, 68. Yep.
What was the date of the letter to Vallejo or to San Francisco?
To Vallejo, it looks like it was December 31st, 68.
When was Betty Lou and David shot?
I think right around the double homicide of the conversation was about Faraday and Jensen on the 20th of 68.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. We'd have to pull the date on that other one. I'm not as good as Tom. I don't have it locked in. Oh wait, hold on. You said Betty Lou. I think I can find it.
Well, Faraday and Jen, and they were killed right before Christmas.
Right.
So, do you think all of the sheriffs and police departments down all the way down here would have known about?
Oh, here we go. 68. Oh, damn. It didn't give me the date. It just said, yeah, it didn't give me the date on that one.
Well, it was Christmas Eve. So
yeah.
So, or it was the day before Christmas Eve. But my point is, less than 5 days, he sends a letter saying, "Hey, the Swindles were killed down here. and you got Faraday and Jansen that were killed 5 days before that, we might have similar cases. I'm going to say I'm not thinking that that how can he come out and say, because yeah, they were shot with the 22 and it was probably world news, but come on.
Yeah.
And, that was 5 days. In 5 days, Zodiac is going to go down to San Diego, shoot the Swindles, and then come back up in 6 months later and shoot Darlene Farron and Michael Medjo. And then a few months later, go shoot Paul Stein. And a few months later, go stab Cecilia Shepard.
So what was the thing about that? There was flights that were going from SD to SF, and then they tried to relate, because Zodiac uses 32s a lot, and I think they tried to relate like the flight number to say that like, oh, that was one of his symbolic numerical hints that blah blah blah.
Guess what airplane I flew all the whole time I was in the Navy? PSA.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't PSA anymore. Yeah, it was flying. There was a flight almost every hour from San Francisco to San Diego.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm going to say, it's just too hard to. That's why I'm really on the fence on whether or not they were victims. The other thing about there, and like I said, I'm an expert rifle and pistol shot. I participated in the all Navy shooting match. Didn't win the rifle, damn it. Brand new M1 match grade with the 7.62 barrel.
For sure.
You're going to tell me that at the parking lot by the Sunset Hotel, and it's not our Sunset Apartments, they're little duplexes.
This is the sea sprays, or maybe yeah.
And you're going to tell me that he had a good vantage point to shoot 200 to 300 yards on what happens at sunset every night in San Diego? The wind comes up. If you ever want to sail about, that the wind is coming up. The wind comes up hard, especially in the wintertime. There's no way
That's a good point.
That shot and shot 2 people at the same time. This is almost wonderless. JFK got shot from the school laboratory so many times.
I was just going to say, this is like another JFK magic bullet.
So I'm going to say, if he had a powered rifle, if it was an AR-15, if it was a 30-30.
Yeah, high powered.
If it was a rifle with some type of substance to it, yes, I could be.
Right.
That's what we are trained to shoot. We're trained to shoot 200 yards. That's our basic minimum when we're in the range.
Right.
50 yards for the pistol and 200 yards for the rifle. And that's our minimums that's our mediums that we're shooting all the time. So I'm going to say, with the distance, there's no way he could have done that with 22. Now, I don't know what the bullet looks like, but the bullet been different, and the scorching of the bullet and the lands and grooves would have been different if it was the lands and grooves are the twist side of the barrel. If you look down the barrel, you'll see twist. That's what the twisting's called, is lands and grooves. Yep. They leave on the bullet. Or I know you know that. I'm letting our audience know.
Absolutely. So, that's why you're here.
if you shoot, and I'll put it to you this way: if you shoot from a 22 pistol, and I have a high standard, which is what has a 6-inch, and I and a 3-inch barrel. You shoot a 22 from this finger to this finger through a barrel. Now you shoot the same 22 from this finger to this finger through a barrel. What is going to be the major factor difference? So now let's take a pistol barrel this big and a rifle barrel, this big. What is going to be the first major difference? Is the friction is going to turn the bullet a different color than it would if you were shooting it from a pistol.
Okay, because
you have a different heat scarring on that rifle bullet than you are on a pistol bullet.
Right.
So we don't know what the color of the pistol or what the color of the bullets that hit the swindles are.
That's a good point. So, because there's 22 long pistols as well. I used to have the Beretta Neos, and it's like a 6-inch 22 long pistol, but you can also get the conversion kit to make it a long gun.
I have the high standard. Actually, my daughter has it right now up in Oregon, but she has my high standard, and it's a 22 target pistol, magazine fed, and it shoots both. It shoots long and it shoots short. So if I was going to be the Zodiac and I'm going to kill somebody, I'm not going to take a shot that's almost going to be impossible to make in the getting dark. What time did they say it was?
I'm almost positive it was nighttime. Let's see if it's hold on. I don't think this is it. Oh wait. You see. I'm pretty sure it was nighttime. I'm not sure. Oh wait. They are walking along each night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
to me, and you brought this up earlier, and I liked it when you said it too. To me, I'm going to take my high standard pistol. I'm going to run down the steps. I'm going to shoot them. Bang, 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 bang. All the time, all the same time. Oh, one's still alive. Bang. Oh, one, bang. Okay. Boom. We're done.
Yeah. That would be my question.
My shirt sleeve, my jacket sleeve, which makes a really good holster for anybody that doesn't know. But I'm going to slip it right down here, just like this, into my shirt sleeve, and I'm going to run.
Right.
Now, I got this 22 rifle. Let's say it's a Ruger 22 rifle, which is just a little bit smaller than an M1 carbine. It's still going to be somewhere between 18 and 30 inches long.
Right.
The whole thing. What are you going to do with the whole thing?
Yeah, unless it's collapsible, which is,
Yeah, and they didn't make all that fancy stuff back then.
That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, he could have had a detachable stock on it. The stocks are normally kind of easy to take off, but you have two pieces running around, So I'm thinking, not likely was he shot with the rifle. I'm thinking he was shot with a 22 long pistol.
Yeah, I'd agree. The other question was, forensically, would they be able to identify if the swindles are walking like up those stairs or towards the boardwalk? They get shot from above in the front, and then he runs back down like again and headshots him from the front again. I'm just wondering, how are they able to identify like which angle they're shot from if it is indeed two different occurrences of running down the steps, as they said? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the coroner would have said.
Right.
And like I said, I haven't seen the coroner's report on them.
Yeah, the police report on this one. Let's just briefly go ahead.
But again, you're outside of an apartment building and you're shooting a gun. A 22, it's not a loud gun, but it's certainly not quiet. And I think it was around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, somebody would have heard. How many shots did they say that they took?
I believe it's like 5 from the upper steps, and then followed by, is it 1 more each or 2 more each for the so-called coup de grace?
And nobody came out. Nobody investigated. Remember,
there's like all those apartments right there, as you said, which was
beach or the hey dude, how you doing? Almost like the same as Imperial Beach.
yeah. Let's briefly mention that. So, the double homicide. Roed requests one of the Karcher cases that came from the crime scene to compare to a similar case occurring in San Diego on February 5th, 1964. The ballistics came back as a non-match. However, Zodiac varied his weapons and alternated between 9mm 22 and possibly a 45 at Lake Berryessa. So, which case was that they compared it to? But yeah, I mean, they compared the ballistics.
He held up a gun, but Bryan didn't know calibers of pistols, so it could have been a 9mm. It could have looked like the same thing. You have a 1911 frame 9mm.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And by the way, this has happened to me once. I can honestly say that I was looking at this. I was looking at this side of a gun. So I had tripped an alarm off on our magazine and on the Ranger, and it alerted the Marines when they came out with their guns pointing at me, going, "Why are you setting alarms off?" Because I didn't know that the alarm was set. But that hole does not look like a .45 caliber hole. They were carrying 9mm. That did not look like a 9mm hole. It looked like a 3-inch hole.
Right.
So if you're not trained to know what that gun is, you don't know that it's a 45 or 9mm. So Bryan could have said, "Hey, it looks like this gun," but you don't know what he was pointing at you, if it was a 9mm or a 45. We only know who got shot with the 22. We only know because he sent it to the papers.
Right.
Faraday and Jansen.
Yeah, see, that was the comparison, and that's why they tested the ballistic, because he wanted the shell from San Diego, and he said it wasn't a match to Faraday and Jensen. So it kind of lends credence to your thing. And then I see what you were saying about Davis as well. Apparently Davis was the one who identified this case as similar to the Zodiac killing. So Howard Davis was
a cab driver, but whoever killed Davis shot him through the back seat.
Yeah. I meant Dr. Howard Davis. He was mentioned in this article, but yeah, no, definitely Ray Davis. Yep, that was Christy Hawthorne. That's the Oceanside cabbie. That's apparently when Christy gave that information over, they reopened that case in February 2020, and that was April, looks like 10th, according to my notes, 1962. Which for me, I could see the swindles. I would be at like a 85% Zodiac possibly on the swindles. Davis, I'd say maybe like 75, because it does look similar to Paul Stein. That's the only thing about it. It's got that Paul Stein feel to it.
I don't know. And I like the way Christy writes too. I like reading her also.
Yeah.
When she came on board, I knew her right away.
Yeah.
I knew her right away.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to reach out. I'd love to get her on the channel and talk to her.
What's the common between Paul Stein and Ray Davis?
They're both cabbies. They're both basically killed at dead ends. Are they both semi-affluent neighborhoods, or is that completely conjecture on my end?
Not really. The
Presidio was just kind of whatever.
The Top Gun house where he was eating lunch with her at her house, drinking wine, talking about, that was right down the street from there, by the way. Anyway, what's the things in common about Davis and Stein.
Yeah, let me pull up. So they're both cab drivers, right? So they both got hailed by this. I guess they're both like white men. Let's see, Ray Davis. Let's see what I can find on him.
He was white.
Yeah. The cabbie radioed his dispatcher. He was taking a fare from Mission Hill. Wait, which one is this? Is this? Yeah, this is him. Mission Avenue taxi stand to the South Ocean side. He was never heard from again. Let's see. So are they both shot in a similar fashion, execution style, possibly behind the head, which you just debunked earlier?
Didn't even get him in the head. Shot him through the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul Stein got it right here, right in front of the ear.
Yeah.
Faraday got it right behind the ear, and he got it there. So the common.
Oh, okay, 22 caliber pistol again. So that's Ray.
But
so Ray.
Paul Stein wasn't shot with the 22. He was shot with the 9mm.
Which she also used on that's that Vallejo, right? That first
right. And the bullets didn't match from.
Okay, geez, so, that's difficult as usual. Yeah, so that's I don't know. I mean, it does have a Paul Steiny kind of thing. It's just this whole thing that he credits himself with 37. So I guess once he does that, people start looking for anything.
It has to be close enough for the police to take an interest and to reopen the case.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I'm not faulting them for investigating it. I would certainly if I was still working the case, but the Zodiac didn't turn down a dead end. He could have gone straight down Maple and run into a dead end, or he could have gone straight down Cherry and run into a covered turnaround.
So it's like he wanted it to be found. A few days after the murder, the supposed perpetrator called the police department again. He knew details of the cabbie's murder and stated he was going to kill a bus driver. So what they're saying is for the next 3 days, Oceanside police officers and military police from Camp Pendleton were placed aboard every city bus. No further incident occurred. So this goes back to Bryan's personal story of how we started. So apparently they're saying after Ray Davis, he called in and, kind of how the Zodiac was calling in and claiming his Bay murders.
Right.
So those are your connections.
So that is certainly compelling. Like I said, it was enough for them to open and look at the case.
Right.
But, they did. We don't know if the killer, we think that the killer drove the cab to near the mayor's house in Oceanside.
Okay.
Whereas we're pretty sure by when the Robbins kids saw the Zodiac that Paul Stein was leaning into the Zodiac's lap, mid-seat in the Zodiac. So we're pretty sure that the Zodiac didn't drive the cab to Washington and Cherry. There are people that really do think that from Washington to Cherry and Washington and Maple are only they're only a block away.
Right.
It's a big San Francisco city block though, so it's not
right.
like it's a block. It's going the other way down Jackson. It's a quarter of a mile. So going all the way around, it's going to be a half a mile easy going all the way around that block. But he wasn't in a secluded area, either on Maple, where his original destination was, or on Cherry, where the final destination was. In fact, the final destination, he was underneath the street lamp.
Right.
So I don't remember if there was a street lamp on Maple, but there was a mansion there, and I think there may have been a party because it was a party place for it was a party place type of mansion.
Right.
And I think, and again, it's my opinion, and from what Tom has said was he didn't stop there because there were too many people there. Other people had said, oh, there was somebody in the street when he parked there. But I'm going, well, no. If somebody was on the street at Maple and walking their dog or doing something, and they're maybe walking down Washington or up Washington, and he goes a block away and shoots somebody, then the person at Maple is going to probably hear the gunshot.
Right. That's what I was saying.
So I'm thinking, okay, Tom said that he wanted to do it in front of the elementary school there. And then that maybe the mansion was too busy, and he thought maybe somebody would come and try to help catch him. You know, kind of like doing the Wyatt Earp to Bill Barocious thing, running out and grabbing him and saying no.
Right.
You know? So, and then you do get people like me that aren't afraid to run to something like that and find out what's going on.
Right.
So he probably has to worry, well, there's people that are going to see me. I'm not worried about being seen, but are any of those guys going to come and get me? So he goes up to Washington and Cherry. Now, I like what Tom said is he parked his car on Pacific Avenue or possibly on Jackson. I like the Pacific Avenue one right on the wall on the city side, not on the Presidio. And that way he make a right, and he's on the freeway. He's on 101 South going towards the bridge. So I like that idea where he was parked and he just took the bus the 3 miles to get, or he could have walked it. It's 3 miles. I do 3 miles easy, you know, so he could have walked it. He could have drove it. He could have called it. Anyway, let's forget about that. But he got picked up at Gary and Mason. It's 3.5 miles, a 20-minute drive, because of all the one-way streets, most likely. He comes up, he goes, oh no, continue up to, you know, whether it was him or whatever, continue up to Washington and Cherry, gets shot there, and right underneath the light, right where kids could see him. Now, why didn't they hear the gunshot? What kind of car do you got?
Right now, Mercedes-Benz C300.
Okay. Cool car. If you turn your radio on the loud side with all the windows rolled up and you stand 50 feet away, are you going to hear the loud noise of your radio or your stereo?
Probably. It's pretty loud.
Okay. But with all the windows rolled up,
I mean, you can't really hear, maybe some bass, but you really can't hear much with.
I want you to try that tomorrow. Go turn your car on, turn the radio on, shut all the doors, make sure everything's shut, walk 50 feet and see how well you hear.
Yeah.
Now, the point that I'm making is the inside of a car is a silencer.
I could feel you on the silencer, but as we were saying before, how about the muzzle flash?
That might have what brought them to the window.
Got their attention, yeah.
That something got their window. It could have been a camera flash. Whoa, what was that? Oh, now I don't know why they looked out the window. Mike Rodinelli knows why they looked out the window because he had talked to him. So everybody knows why they looked out the window. Mike Rodinelli would have said. Now, Mike said, and Mike is a really good guy. Him and I just disagree with 100% who his suspect is. But what I say personally, and I don't mean it personally, but if you want to ask anybody about the Robin kids and where they were and what was going on, he's the guy to ask. Man, this guy has all the knowledge from the Robbins kids that you could ever think about having. He's such knowledgeable about that, in my humble opinion. And also he says, no, the kids weren't both up stairs. One was upstairs, one was downstairs.
Right.
So they were in two different rooms. I believe that's what he said. I'd have to look up.
Interesting.
So what drew them to the car? Well, if one of the kids were living room level, looking out, maybe saw the flash, and that's what brought them to the window, and then called the police. If you look at Google Maps, look at the distance, and you look at the pictures of, and you're talking apartment building across the street. Here, I gotta remember. Okay, car is parked here. Apartment building, looking down inside of a car, or you're looking closer to the street level of the car. You're probably going to see more. What Mike Rodinelli says, that those kids were closer to the street than up high. So that being said, if the Zodiac was worried about being seen, he could have taken a right on look it up on Bing Maps or and go straight down. He could have taken a right on Cherry and gone straight north on Cherry. And what's that? The block away from Cherry. It's a car turnaround. It's dark. I ran this. I ran through this near this same neighborhood. It doesn't matter. It's dark. If he would have gone 10 feet into Cherry, it's dark.
Yeah, I believe it.
He would have been on Jackson. I'm surprised that the police saw the Zodiac on Jackson. If he was all in dark clothes and going east on Jackson, or going downhill, and I think going downhill on Jackson, and he's going down the street, I'm surprised that that the police saw him.
So
surprised that he let the police see him.
one more thing about him being there. If obviously they talked to someone, so if that was the Zodiac, like blood from the gunshot, like that could have sprayed back on him, or if he was sitting behind, maybe it would have went forward. You know what I mean? Like, do you think there would have been anything to like identify him from the car? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If the cops would have if they had a reason to get out of the car, they would have probably seen the blood all over him.
Yeah. That's
somebody said, Cipher Solution. He's an English soldier. I like him. Chris, and he's a past guard of Queen Elizabeth. How cool is that, John?
That is cool.
Being an army sergeant or army guard of Queen Elizabeth. I've talked to him a couple of times. I'm saying that's cool.
That's really cool.
That's cool. But he said, well, I noticed that people were wearing raincoats. Was it raining? And I said, no, it's not. But let's compare San Francisco to London. And what happens in London mostly every night about that time, about 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Oh, it gets foggy.
The foggy mist, yeah.
I said, now, if it was raining, the dogs would never have found anything anyway.
Right.
So, number one, if it was foggy and raining, the blood would have probably come down off of him a little bit, and they would have probably found some on the street if they would have got out of the car. Right. Or they may have noticed, this. But if it was foggy or foggy, it could have been looking at him. It would look wet, but it wouldn't have not looked like blood. In fact, there's a picture of Paul Stein's shirt on the website that has the blood spots on it. And you look at it and you can see, okay, on the gray part of the shirt, you can see the blood, but on the dark part of the shirt, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're two cops, you're driving around, you see this guy and you go, did anybody come this way? Yeah, a guy went up Jackson, he's waving his gun. that's why I think it was the Zodiac, because why else would he would have said go up the street?
Send them in the other direction. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I like that. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, co-training with the Army. I've been on the Presidio several times. Been at the golf course. Been at Julius Kahn Park. I would not have parked on Jackson. I would have parked and cut across the golf course, and then been on the complete west side of the Presidio.
Yeah,
3 blocks, gone down 5 blocks, and been on the freeway. But
I hear it.
Tom said most likely he was parked there, and I'm going to believe everything Tom says about beliefs, because if there's anybody that's researched the Zodiac more than Tom, I'd have to say I don't believe that. I think
I would agree. Tom clearly knows his stuff. It's cool that he actually responds to sometimes.
You look up, and I've gotten in disagreements with him because I have a cool story. But if you go and you can cut off the tape after that or after this, but Tom said he parked on Jackson. He's in dark clothing. You're not going to see the blood at all. So now the cool thing, I was running Ragnar a year ago, October, November. So a year ago, February, I broke my leg on my motorcycle. My wife bought me, probably made me sell. 6 months before that, or in November, I was running the Ragnar relay. And I'm pointing out people because they're all from Menifee and Riverside area.
Yep.
And I'm pointing out, hey, this is where Wyatt Earp is buried right up the hill, right here. This happened here, this happened here, because it's my hometown. And I go, and we're going through Petaluma, and I go, oh, hey, right over here is where, if we go this direction to get to our last waypoint, we're going to go right by where the Zodiac victims were. And the driver's husband goes, oh, I work with Bryan Hartnell. I go, really? He goes, yeah, I work in the prison system, and Bryan Hartnell is an attorney, comes in and talks to inmates all the time and helps them with their cases.
Wow.
I'm going, oh, how cool are you? So I had said something like that to Tom, and Tom said, no, I don't believe you. I said, oh, okay. But I go, I'm going, this guy knows Tom from working in the prison. And then when we were doing the Ragnar, we went to San Quentin and went, and right outside the gate of San Quentin, they have this little itty bitty tiny store that all the guys that are on death row, they make and sell items that goes to their accounts. So I bought a paper mache coffee cup that says San Quentin on it, that one of the guys on death row made. I forgot who it was, but these people let us use their house on our halfway point for us to shower and relax before we had to start running again. So I went, oh, I can always get another one. And hell, I've lived in the area for years and years. So I gave her that cup when we were talking to her about it. Nice. I went, thank you for letting me stay in your house and take a shower. And here's this coffee cup. But yeah, it was cool. He was going, I worked with Bryan Hartnell. I know Bryan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, we went pretty much about double the time I was shooting for, but it's all good. We got some awesome information out. Just to update the subscribers and followers and listeners, what we're planning to do is head over there to Narragansett Ave and the Sea Spray Apartments there. Check out that site of the swindle attack from February 5th, 1964. And I would also like to get up to Oceanside and check out that Ray Davis spot as well. So hopefully for those next 2 episodes, Bryan and I will be able to take some cameras up there and shoot some footage, because I really haven't seen too much of that on YouTube. We'll shout out ZodiacKiller.com. Check us out in the forums. Shout out to Tom Voigt. I will link his channel below, as well as the article from the San Diego Reader about the possible activity here. I am PlanetXGuerrilla on the forum. Guerrilla spelled like guerrilla warfare. And Bryan is USN Gunner 1976. If you guys want to holler at us on there, if you're interested in the case, I suggest checking out the website and checking out the forum. Anything else, Bryan, on your end?
It's also my email at usngunner1976@yahoo.com.
Yep. Check Bryan there. And oh yeah, this, I don't know if mentioning the paranormal will get me banned forever from the forum, but I was mentioning earlier this thing about Joyce Swindle from the Oceanside murders. Apparently they say at night you could hear her voice yelling at night from the residual of her horrific death, and people in those apartments, people have reported leaving the light on in the ballroom and hearing voices in there and breaking glass and noises and stuff like that. So I just thought I would throw that out there. I know everyone's not going to believe that one, but it's interesting nonetheless.
After we go off, I have a funny story to tell you.
Absolutely. I'll just say that's probably the least weird thing in the Zodiac case, if you could possibly believe that, because this case is absolutely nuts. All right. Shout out to Bryan. Thank you for your time. Shout out to ZodiacKiller.com and Tom, and check out his channel as well. Catch you guys later. Bam.
Fun.
Signing off. So we might do some more interviews, hopefully, and we're looking to shoot some stuff on site. So if you guys if you guys enjoy the video, share it out, like, subscribe, leave some comments. If you have any your own Zodiac theory or anything else about what we discussed, leave your comments below. We'll check it out. We're out. Thanks for rocking with us. 1